and cheese is not a breakfast food unless there's bacon in it.
So we were my wife was we were figuring out together what we wanted to cook because I came in and she said I'm making mashed potatoes and something else, and she was like we can make a side dish, and I was like well why don't we make, and I sort of trailed off, and she said mac and cheese, and I thought I'm so glad that she said it rather than me. Because that feels
is there a main element to this, or is it just mashed potatoes?
Well, it's also now mac and cheese. There was something. It might have been veggie tacos.
Vegetarian.
It might have been veggie tacos.
You need a thing to eat. You can't just have
or it might have been cheesy beans or something. But anyway,
cheesy beans is the funnest thing to say.
It is. It is. Even if it's like vegan cheese, so it's like I don't know what that really is. But anyway,
that diet makes me want to throw up literally everywhere.
But I was just glad that we got to eat mac and cheese, and it was sort of her idea. Maybe I incepted her, but it's good.
She knows that look when you get sad and stare off into the distance. And cheese That's the mac and cheese look.
So Brett, how was the chalet?
It's
the
great.
Sports chalet.
I fixed a lock.
Yeah, what was wrong with it?
Drain. Just it just was disengaged. So the family's locksmiths, my friend. My grandfather, my uncle. Old key in Malibu, or Malibu key.
So you're a keysman by DNA?
Definitely not by training, but definitely by DNA.
I had to replace the batteries in my door lock, so I'm basically Chip Gaines. I think that's most of his stuff, actually.
I think those are really cool. Those like battery operated code ones.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to have a key anymore. Like I'm actually, so this is how ridiculous. I'm actually kind of aggrieved that I have to put in a code. I feel like you can see me, door. You should know me by now.
And it should
I would go for a thumbprint.
It should say, hello, John.
Do they have that?
Like I'm sure we could come up with a audio visual solution to make it say, hello, John.
Facial recognition. Don't you have like the doorbell that looks at you and stuff? Talks about you?
Yep. And we have like the new place has like a spring loaded clunk clunk when you hit it. Clunk clunk.
A spring loaded dart ejector?
No, it's like a doorbell.
They have like Alexa or whatever, but it doesn't yet really feel like a digital butler, which I think is what we're moving towards.
Oh, I changed my Siri voice to Irish.
Oh God, how Irish?
It's go ahead. It's 11 o'clock.
No,
go past these lights and turn left at the next set.
No, I mean nothing wrong with that, but
my friend's name is Anthony. Calling Anthony.
By the way, your wife corrected. It's a needle with horse tranks that shoots you. I'm surprised you can actually get horse tranks. I thought they were sold out across the country. Yeah, people worried about. Okay.
I don't know what the show's about today. I did not have time, so we'll play it by ear.
I hate you so much. One of us needs to look at the rundown. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Friday edition of the Damage Report. And I'm just going to warn you right out the gate. I don't know what's going to happen on the show today. Brett, what do you think? How you feeling, Brett Erlich?
The first thing that popped into mind when you said your name is I wanted to call you John Fancy Pants Iadarola. There's no reason for that. I just like fancy pants.
Fancy T-shirt with my fancy purple dragon on it.
It is a gorgeous tee. I'm sitting. I have this seat, this like butt pad that's supposed to keep your ergonomics all in order. But I've been sitting on it wrong by like 2 inches for so long that it's no longer doing. It's just weird.
Okay. Well, speaking of shirts, I'm not going to spoil the surprise, but I am very excited for an upcoming shirt that I had to fill out a form.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to say what it is, but I'm very excited.
There's a lot of really exciting announcements coming from the Young Turks over the next few days. One of which is new merch for a certain show that you have all grown to love very quickly.
You're now being much more specific than I was, but yes.
I want to be specific about congrats for this show. 700,000 subscribers and counting. And one of the most delightful graphics to celebrate that fact that this producer has ever seen.
It was pretty good. I think it's on our Instagram right now, instagram.com/thedamagereport. Yeah, 700,000. That's all we ever wanted, and I think that's good. I don't think no one else should subscribe at this point, or like maybe 1 in, 1 out. We could start up that sort of policy. But anyway,
we need to get to the million point. We need to get to the million point just because I want to see if they still send out those plaques from YouTube.
Yeah, it kind of feels like, I know it's a totally different thing, totally different audience, different decade. I don't know, but I feel like we got Think Tank to like 1.3 million or 1.4 million. Just give us that. Like, just give us that. We already did it. Come on, we have to do it again about a different thing. But anyway, thank you for being here. Are there other announcements about Twitch-related content that you'd like to give people a preview of?
We're gonna do some game busting tonight. I don't know. I'm on a lot of shows today. So are you. I'm presenting second hour. But yeah, tonight is Game Busters at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/TYT. Join Jordan Ewell, come a really chill guy. And there's a giveaway.
And the audience?
The audience. The giveaway? Yeah, so we're gonna be playing some Jackbox games with you. Last Friday we played some Fortnite and it was really, really fun. We got sabotaged by our top sub gifters who made us drop everything and build the biggest house we could and just dance for a while.
Wait, I haven't seen this. You have to build the biggest house sabotage before. That's fun.
It felt a lot like Rust. It was really fun. So Nima, there was a lot of people who gave some really good, huge gift subs, and we're very appreciative of all of you who did that. And so we did that, and then today we're gonna play some Game Busters, and there are 3. I think they're $50 Shop TYT gift certificates that we're giving away today to people who win the competition. So we're gonna play some games. You, instead of giving us stuff for us to perform for you, if you perform well, we give you stuff. So there's 3 $50, I want to say, Shop TYT giveaways, and there's some cool merch that's on there right now. So tune in at twitch.tv/TYT at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern tonight. And then on main show, we got Rashad Ritchie's got Dan from the internet today.
He does. That's gonna be fun. You better watch out. Sometimes Dan shows up to shows with a gun. But anyway,
it has been really, really weird. So we got that, and then on then we got Ben Carollo's got some Galaxy Brain after that.
Nice.
Followed by the Young Turks with Ida Rodriguez making her return after taking time off to work on her special. So that's the Friday Power Panel, and then Caroline Johnson, who is a Rebel HQ contributor and activist, is going to be on the show to talk about the activist show that we're going to be talking about later in the show today. And then we got Game Busters after that, because busting makes me feel good.
That's what I'm seeing up in the chat, and it makes me uncomfortable. That's good. Really fast. I don't know that I've done Jackbox games with Jordan. Is he a contender?
He's a contender. He's experienced. He's got some suggestions for games that I hadn't seen yet, and so.
Oh, interesting. Really fun. Okay, well, I think that I have tested the patience of Sophie as much as I can. I guess we do have to talk about some news at some point. So if you could hit the like button, share the stream, that would be great. And with that, we're gonna talk about some news. So let's do it.
My message to unvaccinated Americans is this: what more is there to wait for? What more do you need to see? We've made vaccinations free, safe, and convenient. The vaccine has FDA approval. Over 200 million Americans have gotten at least one shot. We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us. So please do the right thing.
So his patience is wearing thin, and look, admittedly, I think Biden has about as much patience as anyone. But what he's saying there is, it is free, it's accessible, it's FDA approved. Hey, remember when we thought, I wonder if that's going to make a difference? Doesn't really seem like it did, at least rhetorically. But now, in addition to the rhetoric, they also we have some changes coming. So let's see, the Department of Labor's Occupational Safety and Health Administration is developing a rule requiring all employers with at least 100 employees to make sure their workforce is fully vaccinated or require unvaccinated workers to get a negative test at least once a week. OSHA will issue an emergency temporary standard to introduce the vaccine requirement, and companies that fail to comply could face fines of $14,000 per violation. So this is beyond. Earlier this week, we talked about the executive branch vaccine mandates. They are working on a sort of mostly vaccine mandate for a lot of workers. Something like 100 million Americans work for companies that would be affected by this rule. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna talk about this. Later on, we're gonna be talking about the response of the right after our first break. But I do want to also throw out, Brett, that this is being talked about by both the people that like it and the people that hate it as a vaccine mandate, but it does allow you to just keep getting tested instead. Like, it literally does not require you to get the vaccine. And I feel like that is not even 1% of the conversation.
So federal workers are mandated to get the vaccine, and there is no option for testing. But in terms of being the broader implication, I think parts of it are just dumb. They're like, what do you mean by 100 employees? What if all 100 employees work remotely? Like, you need me, I haven't left my house. As John calls me, a recluse when he thinks I'm not watching on Wednesdays.
You call yourself a recluse.
But the truth is I haven't left my house in like, professional recluse. So I haven't left my house in months really to do anything except go to the supermarket, and I don't interact with anyone who works here except for my wife, person to person, and we are taking a lot of precautions. And so I think if there's a caveat that if you have a workplace of 100 people who are in close contact, that might come out later. That makes sense that you need to do that kind of thing. And those kinds of thresholds in terms of size of business do take into account things that I think do find common ground with a lot of people, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on. In that I'm upset at large corporations who take advantage of these loopholes when they don't really care about their employees, and small companies are going to face a disproportionate burden in terms of cost of their people going out and getting tested. But we are facing a global pandemic that has killed hundreds and millions of people. And some people, I wish I could talk to them in terms of them taking it seriously, but they're taking it very seriously when it comes to politics, not when it comes to death toll.
Yeah.
And that's very frustrating.
That's consistent, at least. It hasn't really seemed to matter to these people from the beginning. And look, we'll be diving into how people are talking about this in a little bit. But I want to give you a little bit more details. President Biden, referring to what we were just talking about, says the bottom line: we're going to protect vaccinated workers from unvaccinated coworkers, because it's we're 1,500 deaths per day. Again, how many waves of 1,500 plus deaths per day do we need to go through? He also announced vaccination requirements for healthcare providers that accept Medicare and Medicaid for all federal employees and contractors, and for the staffs of Head Start programs, Department of Defense schools, and Bureau of Indian Education operated schools. They'd previously talked about military mandatory vaccination, so it is starting to go broader. One part that NYC Southpaw on Twitter acknowledged, that again is weirdly not much of a part of this conversation, is this component of it. To continue efforts to ensure that no worker loses a dollar of pay because they get vaccinated, OSHA is developing a rule that will require employers with more than 100 employees to provide paid time off for the time it takes for workers to get vaccinated or to recover if they're under the weather post-vaccination. It's weird that the official thing has the expression under the weather. But anyway, that we know, look, first of all, it makes sense. A lot of people getting vaccinated and possibly suffering at least mild consequences for a day or two might need some paid time off. So I'm glad that they're actually thinking about that. But we also know that when you poll people for a variety of different reasons that they might be hesitant to get the vaccine, a fear of losing money, like pay, is one of the more common parts of that. So I'm glad that that's a component of it here as well.
Yeah, and as Fat Guy Named Tiny points out, yeah, it's still not a mandate. You can choose vaccine or weekly testing.
Yeah,
you can do that.
It's kind of a mandate. It's a soft mandate. Or
well, it's not a I'm inject. It's not a mandate. Like, what is what is your situation? Like, what is your argument that you don't want to inject yourself with, as people have put it, and I'll show you later in the show, the magic potion?
No.
Okay, if you're not injecting yourself with the magic potion, then I got to make sure you don't have the thing that can get someone sick that we're all concerned about, because of course we are. There's so many people who are like, this is a fake pandemic, but it is killing 1,500 people in America a day. So like, I have to disagree with you. I've talked to people who are talking to their like unions about what the hell to do inside the union when it comes to like vaccine and pandemic deniers, people who won't take the vaccine. What do they do? Because the union's got to pay for your legal defense if you decide not to take the vaccine. So the unions are trying to figure out exactly how to handle this, and they're probably going to come down on, well, we're going to make you pay a higher premium for your health care if you expose yourself to these illnesses in a way that is more risky and more potentially financially burdensome than other things. And it just gets, from one disastrous American phenomenon into another, into like this weird healthcare system that they're going to complain about, but like, you're championing it, so you're gonna have to pay the consequences of it. And I don't see any other practical result for it, given the constitutional guarantees that we're all provided with, that people are, accusing others of taking advantage of government policies in terms of welfare, but they're taking stupid fake loopholes to pretend that they have rights against vaccines.
Exactly. So that, and again, like we have to continually lay out what the stakes are so that they have to like get a demonstrated safe, free thing that could save their life and other people's.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you're right. The fact that they can just get tested instead, when you hear the way, and we'll get to it a little bit later, the way they talk about this, when you bear in mind that they can just get tested anyway, the reaction is even more insane than it seems at first glance. But by the way, in terms of that testing, Biden announced that he would be using the Defense Production Act to increase the production of rapid testing kits and would work with retailers, including Amazon and Walmart, to expand their availability. And he said the Transportation Security Administration would now double fines on passengers who refuse to wear masks. So they're even trying to make it easier to get the tests necessary for you to comply with the non-mandate, if that's what you want.
And isn't that what you should know if you're sick, so you can go take your horse pills?
Exactly. Like, how do you know when to begin rubbing the ivermectin into your armpit? Like, right, and the test will help you.
And and this way you'll know that you're sick, and you'll And again, I just hate when everybody says like ivermectin. People are mad at me because I'm taking horse tranquilizers and it's for people or horse dewormers. It's for people. I'm mad at the people who are going and taking the literal horse doses. Morons.
Well, I'm mad at the people that are making the conversation around COVID about that rather than just encouraging people to get vaccinated. That's
right, and they still get to complain. Like, you guys still get to complain. So I don't know what you're mad about. And please just raise your right hand and make a signal to me if you're just being crappy. And I can live with that. But you're gonna go get the vaccine or take a test, and you're gonna protect your fellow Americans, just like George Washington wanted everybody to do when he did a vaccine mandate.
Exactly. Oh no, we're gonna get to some of the people that used to be in favor of vaccine mandates that are not. I also wanted to quickly let you know though, locally here for LA, the Los Angeles Unified School District announced yesterday that it would require all eligible students to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19 by early next year. Under the policy, students 12 years and older will need to be fully vaccinated against the disease by January 10th. And so, that's beginning to spread as well. I should also give you a little bit of good news, at least. So I've been watching the COVID numbers, and for the first time that I've seen, the 14-day change in the daily cases is actually down 5%. It's still a crazy high number, but it has started to go down. The hospitalization rate is slowly climbing, And the deaths are still climbing. It is going to be lagged, but not as much as they were a week or so ago. But again, bear in mind, we have soared past 650,000 COVID deaths in the United States alone. So we might be starting to turn a corner on this particular wave, but there's still gonna be a lot of people in hospital for the next month. A lot of deaths are now sort of baked into the situation we find ourselves in, so bear that in mind as well. Okay, with that, we're gonna take our first break, but when we come back, we're going to cover the reaction to Biden's announcement from a number of different right-wingers, many of whom will reveal to you were once very cool with vaccine mandates, but now have a massive problem with it. All that and more after this. Okay, so first of all, I want to thank Deontay Allen and CG Highs for becoming members on YouTube. Much appreciated. I saved this just for Brett. So Brett, did you see the Twitter the tweet going around of the workforce of the office, what they would do in the face of a vaccine mandate?
No, I didn't. What's in there?
So Ryan Grimm had tweeted, Dwight Schrute would be torn over the vaccine mandate. On the one hand, orders from corporate are orders. On the other, vaccines are for the weak. Real men ward off COVID with beet extract. And so he retweeted, I think that's probably a good call. He retweeted some other takes. So Conrad says, early seasons, Dwight takes it and is an enforcer. Later seasons, Dwight does not. Jim, Pam, Oscar, and Toby are scolds who get mad at the vaccine hesitant. Michael doesn't understand how vaccines work, gets all three.
Yep.
Definitely what he would do. Ryan, Phyllis, Stanley, Meredith, Kelly, Daryl, Kevin, anti-vaxxers. Maybe.
No, there's a scene where Meredith takes the vaccine, squeezes it into a shot glass.
No.
And takes it. I'm killing everything.
God. Okay, well, thank you, Conrad, for that. Derpy Dino says, did you enjoy your mac and cheese, John? I did, it was a bit ago. And how did you know about that? Anyway, Vicky Gray says, mac and cheese, good anytime. Happy Friday to you all. It is, it's underrated. Okay, let's see. Brianna C says, to celebrate 700s and followers, change John Answers Questions transition card to Dragon Squad Roars. Our dragony roars can change the world. Consider it requested. Let's see if we can make that happen. Carmine says, Grandpa Joe and the DNC are begging me for donations via form letter. They have enough corporate control dollars. I'll put my money instead where it will actually do some good and support the people fighting for change. Thank you, Carmine. That's very nice of you. Much appreciated. And by the way, if you would like to be a regular part of this change, you can become a member. tyt.com/change to find out more information. Patrick Depew says, I have a friend of 17 years who won't get vaxxed. Yesterday, he had a lengthy post about how Biden is dividing us. I had to restrain myself from responding. I just can't take much more of this.
It would make sense if there weren't so many vaccine mandates in America already. You're the different one if you're saying you don't want to do the vaccines. This is FDA approved now. Like
you don't have to.
You're divisive. It is weird that you now are saying that you want to buck the trend that your kids already complied with. And then also like this anti-vax trend was so sad, and we hope it wouldn't like get bigger and bigger. But after the MMR outbreak or the measles outbreak in Disneyland, like I don't know what else to give, what other data to give you. And the last thing I'll say is like in court, my friends, they're gonna believe the actual data when they're making a judgment against you, and they can't take the I just don't believe it defense. And here's my friend's Facebook post defense.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like I saw, it's one thing if, like, because remember, sometimes COVID doesn't matter, it's not important, that's what they say. But then like Sean Hannity's like rant last night was Biden is failing on the pandemic. Look how many cases there are. But so you're saying he's doing too much to try to stop it. He shouldn't do those things. But now you're like blaming him for the fact that there's cases. Decide which side of this thing you want to be on. Anyway, there's a lot more messages. We will get them to them in our next break, but we also have more news, so we'll be back after this. Roar. Dragon Squad Wars. Okay, everybody, so let's jump into this next bit. In the wake of President Joe Biden announcing sort of a vaccine mandate for about 100 million Americans, again, bearing in mind that you don't have to get the vaccine, you can get tested every week. How has the response gone? Has it been rational? Well, let's start with the AP, who put up a headline analysis: Biden's war on virus becomes war on unvaccinated. No, don't do that, Zeke Miller. What are you talking about? It's not a war. Do we have to use that for literally everything the government does? He wants people to get vaccinated. That's not the same as invading territory and killing enemy combatants. But anyway, Axios declared America's civil war of 2021. And look, it is possible. I don't know Zeke Miller and I don't know Mike Allen. Maybe they mean, well, I don't like that it's a civil war, and I just mean that the right's freaking out about it. But you are still playing into, this is the major dividing line. People should line up on both sides. That's what they do in a civil war. And so we're gonna get into the specific right wingers. But the fact that the relative mainstream media, the AP and Axios, are pitching it immediately as going to war on unvaccinated people, and it is a civil war, that feels unnecessary to me. I don't know, am I overreacting?
I will tell you exactly how this happened. Ready? I need a verbal confirmation that you're right.
I am.
Because otherwise I have to look down and see if you're nodding on my monitor.
I'm ready.
This happened. If you look, and we've experienced this too. So we title things with civil war in the title if and only if we're quoting someone who has called for a civil war, okay? People are saying like, if they don't change, this is gonna be a civil war. Okay, those titles with civil war in them, I've noticed, and this is just observationally, do really, really well because of everything we've heard about algorithms and how they end up making people. But we have to do that because that's the central quote. This person is calling for a civil war. Okay, that's what happened. I will say, give you a caveat. Zeke Miller probably didn't write that headline. The other person probably didn't write their own headline, but someone over there who's managing that site is like, civil war does well, but they've abandoned the governing principle that confines civil war and headlines to that because civil war headlines do well. And so they've added, this is the civil war of today. Now, I would say a closer analog to the Civil War would be when MAGA zealots stormed the Capitol building to stop the certification of an already certified election for the most part. That invasion, taking over property, those are the inciting incidents in most, like storming the Bastille, defenestrating fools. Like these are the kinds of events that start wars.
Yeah.
But like saying, hey, you know how we mandate vaccines for everything from hepatitis to measles, mumps, and rubella, tetanus, and even the HPV vaccine? Like, we're doing it for the thing that's killing 1,500 Americans a day. That is not a civil war. That is a defense of people who are being put at risk due to purely politicized, reckless behavior, politically motivated, reckless behavior of people who are detached from reality.
Yeah. I think you're right. And again, you're totally right. The individual writers don't necessarily choose the headlines. That is true, but someone did. The algorithm didn't. Well, indirectly, I kind of did, but a human pressed the button on it. But that is how they're going to talk about it, and I have a feeling they're not going to be the only ones. And the issue is that when it's presented in this way, we know exactly how people are going to respond. It doesn't even have to be something serious. Like you take like a novel with a love triangle, and once you pitch it as some sort of conflict, people have to line up for one or the other. That's just how humans work. And unfortunately, fandom isn't the stakes here. Potentially hundreds of thousands of lives are the stakes. But that said, let's move on to others. The right wing has not been happy. The right wing has not been happy about the sort of vaccine mandate announcement by Joe Biden. Bearing in mind, again, you don't have to get the vaccine, you can just get tested. Can't say that enough. So let's give you some examples. Ben Shapiro tweeted, somebody should tell Biden that the Taliban are unvaccinated, maybe then he'll get angry at them. I can't, because he doesn't, he's really nice to the Taliban. He should get mad at them and then do what? Because Ben Shapiro would, of course, pretend that he's in favor of withdrawing. So to what end? What do you want to get mad at them for?
Ben Shapiro, I hate to break it to you, you're a massive outlier in terms of everyone. So Donald Trump negotiated the surrender to the Taliban, and most people wanted us out of there anyway. And just because you follow through on what is a smart decision to stop chucking treasure, and let's talk to all the people who follow you because you're a fiscal conservative, like chucking American taxpayer dollars into a bottomless pit of war. I don't think your own fiscally conservative fans would be a fan of. And honestly, I don't know how anyone's a fan of you.
Yeah, his financial backers are fine with it because it doesn't go directly into a big hole. It goes into defense contractors and then into a big hole. But that doesn't mean that his actual viewers would be okay with it. And also, by the way, the like it's the vaccine, it's the Taliban. Like it's just so like the two things that exist. Let's make a tweet about both. You don't have to do that. You can actually think before commenting on what's actually going on. But anyway, he said in an appearance on Fox and Friends this morning that the Daily Wire will not be complying with the new rule. We're gonna use every method and resource at our disposal to defy the president's unconstitutional order. Well, the resources at your disposal that you'll be using apparently is $14,000 per case where you don't abide by it. So we actually know exactly how many resources. But anyway, he went on to say, I'm vaccinated, I'm pro nearly everybody getting vaccinated, and this is tyrannical, authoritarian, anti-science BS. So again, like, I totally want people to be vaccinated, but I use the platform I have to encourage them to be terrified of the vaccine. Now, I can only do the impression a little bit. I just get sick of it. But anyway, that's what he's saying now. But what I find potentially more interesting is what many of these people were saying before it was a civil war that we have to line up on, before they learned over the last year what the right wing is willing to tolerate when it comes to this particular pandemic. Ben Shapiro wrote in Town Hall back in 2015, the point of mandatory vaccinations is not merely to protect those who are vaccinated. When it comes to measles, mumps, and rubella, for example, children cannot be vaccinated until 1 year of age. The only way to prevent them from getting diseases is to ensure that those who surround them do not get those diseases. The same is true for children with diseases like leukemia, as well as pregnant women. Herd immunity is designed to protect third parties. But Americans have short memories and enormous confidence in junk science. That turned out to be prophetic. Look up the horse drugs. But anyway, now there's a little bit of nuance here. He goes on to say that doesn't mean that all vaccinations should be compulsory, of course. There are certain diseases that can only be transmitted by behavior, like HPV. He doesn't care if he thinks that you're sinning. He doesn't care if you get sick. There are others that are too varied for effective herd vaccination, like the flu shot. But when it comes to measles and mumps and rubella and polio, your right to be free of vaccination and your right to be a dope with the health of your child because you believe Jenny McCarthy's idiocy ends where my child's right to live begins. So look, I have no doubt that he's gonna hide behind the flu thing. The issue is that the vaccine so far has been shown to be very effective against all the variants, so that doesn't apply. So in 2015, when anti-vax sentiment was something of the Jenny McCarthy's and the people in Santa Monica or whatever, he thought it was you being a dope. And it's not okay because his kid's life is at risk. So mandatory vaccination is fine. But now the political tides have turned a little bit. And the thing that he was advocating for in 2015 isn't popular anymore. And so sure, I guess in theory, he cares about the health of his kids and other kids, but he cares about maintaining an audience that isn't gonna turn on him for supporting the thing that 6 years ago he supported.
I wish there was something I could add to that. But that's absolutely.
I haven't really seen that going around, by the way. But anyway,
but that's the truth. That's the truth. The only thing that's changed is who's on what side, right? And this is a deadly disease. So your argument for behavior chucked out the window, especially because the risky behavior is not only perpetrated by the people who are against vaccines, but that Venn diagram is mostly overlapping with people who are anti-mask, especially in schools. So his own argument is against him. They're they're not anti-everything. They're anti-certain things. They're pro ridiculous things. And I'm not mad. Like, it's possible that there will be some study that yields proof that ivermectin is great against viruses. My point is, it's not a proof for that. I still have to have faith in some institutions. And the problem with and I'm fine with them being skeptical of institutions, but I have to have faith in the FDA in this situation because their counter argument is so patently dumb. It's that in some cases, pharmaceutical companies want you to take some diseases, and in other cases, you should take the pharmaceutical product that isn't approved by the FDA.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
your argument needs to hold together, and it doesn't. So I'm sorry. If it was a good argument, there's plenty of times when I've said Ben Shapiro made a good point in this situation. Unfortunately, that is not the case right now. He's making stupid points exposed to be wildly partisan and not based on logic, no matter how much his cadence of implied logic may be consistent throughout.
Yeah, it's based on keeping the audience happy. That's all it is. Because whatever study they do in ivermectin, it's not going to come back, it's great against COVID, and it turns out you were right not to get vaccinated. That's not what it's going to say. And so it's a complete waste of time. Even if it ends up being helpful, you should still get vaccinated right now. But anyway, tyrannical, authoritarian, anti-science BS that I supported in 2015 and don't support now because it's not politically expedient to do so. But he's not the only one. The Federalist tweeted in 2015, if you choose not to vaccinate, private and public institutions should be able to discriminate on that basis. You think that's what they're saying today? I don't. Megyn Kelly's tweeted about how the vaccine's just this experimental thing and they're gonna force you to stick it in your kid, even though it's FDA approved. Just a few years ago, she was on Bill O'Reilly in support of mandatory vaccination, saying this is going to be a big political issue for politicians going forward because it's about Big Brother. But on the other hand, some things do require some involvement of Big Brother. And she said that people who have a problem with the mandatory vaccinations have been fed bad information, which is true and still is to this day. But anyway, they continue to freak out. Let's go to some examples of this that you might see going around. Here is the 5 responding to Joe Biden's announcement.
Man, he's a bitter man. He's humiliated by the Afghanistan situation. He's upset with the economic recovery where it should be, but it's not. So he's taking that anger out on the unvaxxed. He's targeting 80 million Americans who don't trust him, don't trust the media for good reason. Country's been lied to for 3 decades. Why would you trust a politician or the media telling you anything? And instead of uniting the country against this pandemic and against China, because that's where it came from, he's trying to divide the country against itself for political exploitation.
Basically, he said the unvaxxed are the new terrorists. That's what he did. Like, he showed more anger towards that 80 million, this amorphous 80 million that he actually won't specify what constitutes the 80 million, which is kind of interesting. But he showed more anger towards them than the orderly and kind Taliban.
And he is constantly ginning up anger in our society. It's all this Marxism thing that's following through everything that they're doing. And
I think the only gin is in her cup. What are you talking about, Marxism? What does that have to do with any of this? And this amorphous 80 million. He won't say what the
great.
Thank you. Well, actually, I like gin. So I didn't like her using that. Anyway, he won't define the 80 million. No, he's talking about the unvaccinated. That's what have you been following the conversation? That's what he's talking about, the 80 million. He's just mad about Afghanistan, so he's taking it out. So rather than uniting the country against the pandemic, so what would that look like to Jesse Waters? What could Biden do that he would be like, yes, that's uniting us against this thing that I have spent a year and a half telling people not to take seriously, not to comply with literally any of the advice. Again, not the advice of politicians and the media. We're not asking you to trust the media, Jesse Waters, member of the media. We're asking them to trust the doctors who made this and who say that it's safe. That's what we're asking for. That was like 5 different versions of stupid around a table.
I love how he started it off with like, yo, Joe Biden's just bitter and angry that like your roll boy Trump is the bitterest, angriest, sorest loser that the world has seen in years. His whole identity is built around something that fascists do, that horrible, horrible people do, which is needlessly and disingenuously going after institutions because those institutions, when functioning properly and are are things that protect people against the whims of fascist crazy people. And that's why Trump attacks. Now, when I question institution, and when most people who are genuine thinkers attack certain institutions, it's when they're doing things that cause them to lose credibility. And you come with facts and reasons and arguments that you genuinely want to engage in to get to the bottom of something. But that's not what Fox does. When Jesse Waters says the media has been lying to them, he's been lying to them. He's been lying. Fox News is the one who's been lying to them at the behest of the people who stand to gain financially and politically from having a strong voice to do exactly what he's doing on his show, which is to let you sit there after you read something that is outside of Fox News's distribution mechanism, something that radicalized you, that turned you into a conspiracy theorist. And after they spent years trying to fight you from falling into that trap, something that Chris Wallace continues to do, people like Jesse Waters, Jeanine Pirro, Greg Gutfeld, people who are just chasing the camera and the eyeballs and the attention, they're sitting there. And what did it feel like when you were watching them say that? It felt like they were saying, it's okay. You can do whatever you want, think whatever you want, feel whatever you want. And I'll be here in a shiny floor studio to tell you that you're doing it right. And that is exactly like when you used to go to the mall and a kid would throw a frickin' tantrum and the parents are like, we just need to get him more sugar because he needs more sugar because he wants more sugar. That's what Fox News has turned into. And it's sad. And you watch it every single day now because the tail's wagging the out of that dog.
Yeah. And look, it's in some ways they influence, they put stuff out there to the audience and the audience absorbs it. But as we keep seeing, the audience then responds, and they freaked out, not about COVID, but about any efforts to stop COVID from killing them. But if they hadn't, do we really think that if Trump had been in favor of vaccines and the mandate and masks, and they had really worked hard on it, that Gutfeld would be like, no, I'm going down. This is the hill I will die on. Trump is wrong. Tucker's wrong. They're all wrong. I'm still anti-vaccine. Does anybody think that? No, they would line up with whatever they were, and they were pro-vaccine mandate before. It's just politically expedient. That's all it is. And in a nonsensical fashion, Jesse Waters says that one of the things that Biden is he's so bitter about is that the economic recovery isn't going fast enough. Yeah, we're still in the midst of a pandemic. What is there anything that Biden could do that has a more predictable impact on the economic recovery than trying to get as many people as vaccinated as possible, so people will start going to movies and theaters and gyms and all that again? But no, they pretend that those things are disconnected, even though they've spent the last year saying we need to reopen these things and not lock them down. But there is a voluntary element to that. So long as people are getting sick and dying, whether they're open or not, everyone is not going to be using them at the same levels they were before the pandemic. And again, it's trying to communicate with people that fundamentally don't care about any of this. Now, really fast, I want to show you a video from Josh Mandel running in Ohio. He apparently was so appalled by the not really a mandate, vaccine mandate announcement that he had to get out of his car and record this.
Hey guys, it's Thursday night, September 9th. I'm driving through Western Ohio. We're driving through a cornfield near a town called Loganville, Ohio. My blood is boiling, enraged at what I've seen from the White House today. Trampling on our freedom, trampling on our liberty, trampling on what I took an oath to defend when I joined the Marine Corps. Joe Biden, I'm not even gonna call him President Biden, he's not. Joe Biden is creating a constitutional crisis. And as I was driving through this cornfield, I literally came across this sign, this Trump sign, he is my president. And I am hoping and praying that the Supreme Court justices that he appointed to the US Supreme Court will do the right thing and stand up for the Constitution, stand up for our freedom, stand up for our liberty. And if they don't, I call on my fellow Americans, do not comply. Do not comply with the tyranny. And when the Gestapo show up at your front door, you know what to do.
Okay, so first of all, as I typed in chat, I really wish one of those Quiet Place monsters would jump out of the corn right then. We're gonna get to the substantive part at the end, but he started off like he knows he's a candidate and he's a right winger, and this is supposedly tyranny, so he needs to be aggrieved by it. My blood is boiling. I am so angry right now. I can't tell you how mad I am. Hot, warm blood is pouring through my veins. Don't pretend to have emotions that you're not having. You either don't care or you are actually mad, but you're equally terrified of the camera, maybe. Maybe he's just really uncomfortable. Well, he's definitely not blood boiling, it's tyranny. The boot of the dictator's on my neck. Like he can't even pretend to be the right-wing blowhard or firebrand that clearly his aides told him, you gotta upload something to Twitter, Josh. You gotta get out of the car in this corn, Josh. But he can't even work up a good anger.
Yeah, maybe the reason he's scared is because he's about 18 inches from the highway. Jesus.
And 18 inches from dark, scary corn.
I am angry. Hold for sound. That this person, hold for sound. There's an airplane. I can't wait for him to, like, things that all the images that came to life is like, I wanted that to be the Josh, whatever, approve this message. And then they do the wide shot overhead and he's just putting crop circles down. And that whooshing sound and blinking lights was actually just a UFO that he works with. And I don't know if he looks more like an alien pretending to be a human or just a penis with blade hands. He's just standing there like, oh.
Why are they all so bad, Brett?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it would be really hard to be the stereotypical insane alpha they all want to be, but it's all Ben Shapiro's and Tucker Carlson's and Ted Cruz's. These are not those guys.
I think he's a Marine too. It's like, hey.
I know, well, so shouldn't he be like a cold-blooded killer? Like it doesn't come off. But anyway, more importantly though, substantively, when the Gestapo comes to your door, you know what to do. I'm not gonna say, I'd rather wink wink because I don't want to get sued, but you know what to do. And he liked that message so much that when he tweeted this out, Brett, he tweeted it with, do not comply with the tyranny. When the Gestapo show up at your front door, you know what to do. Like he repeated it in the tweet. And that was the line he was told to say. The rest of it was him trying to vamp and failing. And then he sort of like worked himself up a bit when he got to that line. But so what, Brett, are they supposed to do? When they come to the door, what are you supposed to do?
Hi, it's us, the Gestapo. Good morning, we're here to do whatever we're doing. I don't think you understand how it works. And what he's saying, you know what to do. I would just like go on.
What does he imply?
He wants you to shoot them.
He wants you to shoot.
He wants you to shoot government agents who are going to show up and roust you from your home. But that's not the nature of this mandate. This mandate is follows similar previous mandates. I just don't understand why, no one's made the argument, which I shouldn't give them, which is like, you don't have a mandate to get the flu vaccine, right? Like that is a vaccine, that's a leaky vaccine that you could still get it. It's supposed to reduce your symptoms. And this is similar to that, reducing your symptoms. But the one thing that doesn't have that the COVID argument has is that the COVID is killing way more people and has killed way more people. And if that doesn't factor into your calculus of constitutionality, risk, everything, the kinds of things that the trenches in which these arguments are fought, then I just can't listen to you. You don't have a good argument. Instead, he knows he's running for Congress. He knows that he needs to be mad at this, like you pointed out, and he just doesn't know how to bring that to life on the screen.
Exactly. Well, unfortunately, we have to take our break. So when we come back, we're gonna be talking about an upcoming a new reality show. Why would we be talking about that in the first hour? Why would we be doing that? Well, you're gonna find out soon. But we're gonna go respond to some of your comments during this break. The crazies. Okay, so Progressive Boomer, thank you for your super chat. There's no message, just a nice little super chat. Thank you. Crumble sent us a super sticker, much appreciated. Let's see. Bonnie Burt says, hi, John and Brett. You saved me. Can I be Snow White Dragon? I started watching January 2020 and grateful for like-minded people who choose to be progressive. You may, Snow White Dragon. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Barrel-aged millennial says vaccine mandates are so communist, even Hitler would have done it. Right-wing arrogant ignorance at its finest. The Marxism thing, like, what are you talking about? What does that have to do with Marxism?
Guys, here's your argument for you. At times when you have what people have vowed is pure communism or pure fascism, it is all about corruption. It is all about a small group of people seizing power through whatever absolutist regime they've instilled as a mask for the true power centers, which are, central committees and corrupt people who are using essentially capitalist instincts to rule crap. Like people paying bribes and appealing to their desire for, aggregating and centralizing wealth and power, and that's corruption. So no matter if you're on the left or the right, but they don't say that. They say it's just communism is evil, fascist communism. It's like, no, you're not making that part of the argument. You're just using a buzzword that your side has always told you is a get out of thinking free card.
Totally. Tim Brennan says, did you know that the rapid test is only 30% accurate? Not a typo, 30%. I was told that by the professionals that administered my last test. I would want to know specifically which one. Hopefully they are working to make those more accurate, but thank you for telling us that. Let's see, Andrew Singh says, so wait, we're gonna make Amazon workers work harder? Yeah, a good point. Part of the Kiwi Dragon says, in regard to Tim Brennan, Pharmaceutical Journal, 57.5% sensitivity, positive test in people who have COVID, 99.6% specificity, testing negative when you don't have it. Lateral flow is good for screening. That is several layers above my head, but I appreciate the added context on those tests. Noelia Brunini says, do you think these anti-maskers and anti-vaxxers go berserk on these simple policies that save their lives? Because if they are against it, then they have some control of their lives. I think that they are looking for an identity and they were provided one. And I think that they will do whatever they have been told is consistent with that. Mariah the Ginkgo Dragon says, I am blood boiling angry that you are forcing me to protect myself and others, but totally cool with tyranny in Texas. Yes, exactly. Being forced to carry, they're not gonna have a problem with that. In response to your requiring a verbal confirmation from me, there was a lot of talk about you being trained as a flight attendant, as sort of by osmosis. So fat guy named Tiny says, in the event of a water landing, Brett will be in the galley taking shots because F it.
So true. Grab 2 beers and go, buddy.
Are you referencing the guy that jumped down the slide?
Woohoo, I quit.
One of the most amazing things. I wonder what happened to that guy. Anyway, Blake Mooney says the leading cause of climate change, deforestation, ocean dead zones, species extinction, and drought is animal agriculture. #go vegan. Thank you, Blake. I was actually supporting vegan cheesy beans before, but you guys wouldn't have heard that.
Yeah, I'm criticizing the names of these things. Like we're calling it vegan cheese. It's like, is it? Just give it a cool name and move on.
What would that be?
Flunk sauce. Like, ooh, flunk sauce. I want some flunk sauce.
Oh God. Okay, well, we'll get to more of those in a little bit, but it looks like we're rapidly running out of time. So we will see you on the other side.
Row.
Man, this hour is going by fast. Okay, so before we jump back into the news, I did want to let you know, as always, Indisputable will be coming up after the damage report. Don't worry, we still got 40 more minutes. But once that's done, you can go to twitch.tv/TYT or youtube.com/indisputable_TYT to watch Dr. Rashad Ritchie, as well as co-host Dan Evans, who's obviously a longtime friend of the show. Will Robinson will be on for debate. And yes, you can still watch the multi-stream of Indisputable on the Damage Report YouTube channel today, but then that's it, and then it goes. So go and subscribe to their YouTube channel to make sure that you get their notifications and can still watch the program. That said, Brett, you ready to dive back into it?
Oh, I can't wait. Oh my God, I can't wait.
That's not nice. That's not nice. But I'll do it anyway. Let's go. The announcement of an upcoming reality show was met with, I'd say, a chill response online. So this is gonna be hosted by Usher, Priyanka Chopra Jonas, and Julianne Hough, right? It's Julianne Hough?
Yeah.
I don't know celebrities these days, but Julianne Hough are set to co-host the Global Citizen Competition series from CBS, The Activist. So what is The Activist? Well, The Activist is a competition series that features 6 inspiring activists teamed with 3 high-profile public figures working together to bring meaningful change to one of 3 vitally important world causes: health, education, and environment. And so how will they do this? Activists go head-to-head in challenges to promote their causes, with their success measured via online engagement, social metric, and hosts' input. And we'll get to the final point of all of this, but already initially, now look, there's no trailer for it. The episodes haven't been released. We don't know exactly what's gonna happen, but the premise, a lot of people had a problem with it, Brett. I know you're a big fan of reality shows, generally shows where people are required to be naked for them. That's not gonna be the case here, so I just want you to relax. What do you think about the activists based on what you've heard so far?
I was operating under the impression and assumption they would be naked. So I'll just be naked when I watch it. And I'll
naked and afraid of climate change.
Yeah,
I think would be the show. Anyway.
This is an amazing like mix of course and like you know, and so it's a cynicism test is what I used to call it on Pop Trigger all the time. You are now faced with a cynicism test, and much of this is how you choose to or can't help but react to some news.
Okay,
at the end of the
how
day,
do you react?
At the end of the day, I would argue it is very likely that a cause that needs funding is going to get funding. So good.
Okay.
If I've got pros and cons on my whiteboard, pro. The con is just like, I know that the final solution in this situation is to get an actual activist who does like grassroots work on the ground, actually making a difference tangibly and innovatively. Like, the best thing to come out of it would be they actually connect with this. I just want to feel good, and they canceled Extreme Makeover Home Edition audience that's watching this. Like, this is the result, and these shows, if it's what I assume it's going to be, since it's like, you know, activist judges, like there's 3 people that are helping you do this. Like, it's called a shiny floor show. That's what they call it in the business. We got a big shiny floor show where there's like lights and there's people turning around and there's judges and then they're in a big room doing the voice, a presentation, and there's people, we're getting reaction shots in the audience going, oh wow. Yeah. But like, the next step is to get actual activism and actual activists in front of this larger audience so that they know that A, it's not terrifying, and B, there's gonna be a little more work to it than just like, did you get likes and retweet?
Yeah. So definitely the judging is gonna be a part of it. And okay, good. I will try to engage seriously with your cynicism test. Yes, there will be money. Let me run through the rest of the details and we'll get to the money. The 3 teams have one ultimate goal: to create impactful movements that amplify their message, drive action, and advance them to the G20 summit in Rome, Italy. There, they will meet with world leaders in the hope of securing funding and awareness for their causes. The team that receives the largest commitment is celebrated as the overall winner at the finale, which will also feature musical performances by some of the world's most passionate artists.
That's where it's
that last bit.
That's where it's like, is there a barf bag nearby? We are the world.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah. Like if it was just, that means it would have been enough. Like it would have been enough if we just, hey, here's a 1-hour special where all these people got together and donated money to big causes. But like, they gotta pay Usher. They gotta pay Priyanka Chopra. There's Jamila Jamil tweet that's like, what if we just, hear me out, what if we just took the budget for this show and gave it to the causes? And then those 3 categories, health, medicine, something like that. It doesn't have social justice. It doesn't have economic justice. Like it doesn't, those aren't approved by the sponsors. It's a corporation
that's making this. Like that's fundamentally the problem here. So what are they allowed to do in their drive to create a movement, and what are they not? Are they allowed to challenge the effect that corporations have in all these different areas? Are they allowed to call these foreign governments out on the promises they've made and habitually broken in these different areas? Are they allowed to call out individual politicians that are standing in the path to progress in these areas? I feel like they're not gonna be able to do any of that. So it's not just that this is commercializing for CBS, activism. It's also constraining it. It's like taking it down this little thing that's gonna be able to say vague things about these topics, but probably not more. We could be wrong. I hope that we are, but I do wanna get to a few of the reactions. So Jamal Bowman had tweeted, I'm gonna activate the block button if I see any of y'all watching this mess. Which AOC responded, LMAO, I'm gonna submit one in your name. And Naomi Klein had a tweet that I really liked. She said, I'm confused. Is this an advanced Marxist critique to expose how competition for money and attention pits activists against each other and undermines deep change, or just the end of the world? And I could be wrong. We'll see. This doesn't seem great. I'm not saying it won't have any positive effect. Maybe some kid will watch it and think, I want to become an activist someday. Maybe that could happen. And maybe some money will go the right direction, but I feel like there's much better ways to do this that aren't tied to corporations like CBS.
Yeah, it's just like, it reeks of that photo op from the politician who shows up and doesn't care about the organization that they want to quote bring awareness to, but like hugs goes up to the cow and is like, oh, this cow should be happier, gets a photo with that, and then like washes the hell out of their hands and gets out of there as fast as possible.
Yeah.
But then again, that's just me being cynical. I have to be honest about that and jaded by all this. So that's where I'm at with the activist.
We should do a poll. Can we get at least a Twitch poll up? I'm curious what people think about this. Is there any having it going on out there? But anyway, that is going to be the end of the first hour. Thank you everybody for watching if you're on one of our linear platforms. But if you're on YouTube or if you're on Twitch, we do have more stories to get to, including our garbage people of the week, which you're not gonna wanna miss. So we're gonna take a quick break. But after that, we'll be coming back with a lot more. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Let's have a little more fun before we're done for the week. Terry Graham became a tier 3 member. Thank you so much, Terry Graham. Appreciate you doing that. And thank you to Twitch and the queen of Twitch, Brooke, for doing a poll on The Activist. Is there anything good about The Activist? 84% of you said no. There was a few people who were like, maybe. Okay, let's see. Adrian Levixen Noir says the hospital here in my city has now canceled all voluntary procedures because of COVID. They don't have the bed space and they have no idea when they'll have space again. Jeez, that's devastating. Lazy Peon says on a random note, if you had to join a cult, which one? Unger Knights, the Caspers, Church of Scientology, or the Erlichers?
The Marxists, Marxists. That's what Jordan calls us, the Marxists.
The Marxists.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like if you do Scientology, like there's probably some celebrities you eventually meet or whatever. I don't know. I'd probably go for that.
If you hang out at my house long enough, you will meet celebrities.
That is true. I actually have already. BPD Dragon says, thanks John and Brett for keeping me informed and laughing. Thank you. Musically Meg says, John and Brett, thanks for the banter. Had to put my cat down today and I read that wrong at first. Had to put my cat down today and need the distraction. Even discussing the hard topics, love listening to you. I'm really sorry to hear that. That's really sad. I thought you meant you had to put him down. That's super sad, Musically Megs. Sorry for that. I've had to do that with my dog before too. I don't even want to think about that with my current dog. But anyway, lots
too late. You are
the garbage can. I'm moving on though. So we're gonna cruise through some quick topics before we throw out the trash. Let's jump right into this one.
Additionally, I'm worried about my family. If I get COVID, I'm gonna bring it to my family. And I talk to my grandparents a lot. They're higher risk than me, so I don't wanna give them COVID. This time last year, my grandmother, who was a former teacher at the Rutherford County School System, died of COVID because someone wasn't wearing a mask. This is a very
Hey guys, we're here to act professional. Please, sir, go ahead.
Thank you. This is an avoidable issue, and by not wearing masks in schools, it's irresponsible. We're killing people. This is not something that we should be doing for the education of our students. Thank you.
Man, my blood boiling is boiling like Josh Mandel right there. So that's Grady Knox, who's a junior at Central Magnet, speaking on Tuesday at a Rutherford County Board of Education meeting, where he laid out concerns students have faced since schools reopened following the start of the pandemic. And so that's good. I'm glad that a junior at high school was, talking about very difficult stuff about the struggle that his family's had with COVID. The fact that adults in the room were heckling someone who had just talked about their grandmother dying, that the woman you can see in the video is giving those like sarcastic little grins. Like think about the juxtaposition of let our kids smile as a slogan and I'm gonna smile at this kid talking about his grandma dying because I think it's funny. It's just like, Brad, what do you think about this? Like the Board of Education meetings have become the worst place in the world over the past year.
Well, they always have been. Like everyone knows that parents are the worst because you're getting, and it used to be you just got like Mama and Papa Bear, who were like, that's my kid.
Yeah.
And they should have football for everybody, and soccer you should be on the team. Like it used to be that. This is not that, right? Because they're not mad. This shows you where in their minds coronavirus lives. It lives in a place where wherever the word mask comes up, you sneer and laugh at the suckers.
Mhm.
And it is such a it is so priority number one and reaction number one in your mind and soul and being and everything that you so quickly forget that this kid said, my grandmother died.
Yep.
Of COVID. And you see, he does a follow-up, which I'm sure you have, but he does it, he just disappears. He just looks out. And I don't know how he got through it.
Yeah.
But maybe, what is he picturing? He's picturing his grandmother with whom he spent his entire life knowing and hanging out and learning things from and loving. She's dead. He just experienced that. Additionally, a funeral, lowering a coffin into the ground. These things happen. That's what I remember from my father's funeral. Like, you just remember that. I was a mess, right? He cycled through all that in his head because he was going to do that anyway. But now in those images in his mind, looming over his shoulder is some crappy lady who thinks this is where her entertainment and fun lives because she's got a sign saying, let our kids smile. What about that kid? You think that kid's gonna smile anytime soon? And it's your fault.
The only, it's not even a mitigating factor I can think of is this is just a different explanation couched in horrible personality traits is that there's a good chance that they don't believe him. Because they think you just go up there and say whatever you want. You just make up stuff. Like they probably do. Like we know in general they don't believe that the death count is accurate. She's probably thinking, yeah, she died of COVID. She's an old woman. She's died. They think in the abstract that these people didn't actually die of COVID. At what point can we apply that to individual cases where they just might not believe that it actually happened? That all of this is fun and games. I came to this board meeting because this is my new hobby or whatever. He's probably the same. He's not actually expressing, the grief that he's felt at the loss of his grandmother and the fear that others might die. That if people go to school unmasked, other teachers might die, other kids might get it, they might pass to their families. It's nothing serious like that. This is just fun and games. Ugh. Anyway, there's a lot more to get to though. So why don't we jump ahead to?
Yeah.
No,
it's just like active, like. Yeah, it's just it's just very frustrating to me, and I've already said it, so go ahead. End the video before that.
I agree. It is frustrating. You're just being honest, like he was. And thank you, by the way, to Grady Knox for doing that. Okay, with that, we're gonna turn to very different news before we close things out for this episode of the Damage Report. Normally, this would be in like a Bean Wetland situation. A man in Austria apparently mummified his dead mother so that he could continue receiving her benefits from the state. The woman is believed to have died in June last year of natural causes, but was kept in a cellar by her 66-year-old son. The man has since pocketed a total of 50,000 euros in social welfare on her behavior. In US dollars, it's close to $60,000. He admitted in questioning that he froze her body with ice packs in the basement after she died to guard against the smell. He then wrapped her in bandages to absorb any corporal fluid. Once he ran out of those supplies, he covered her with cat litter, which completed the mummification process. Now, along the way, there were some issues with this plan. His brother came asking where their mother is. Well, he said that she was in the hospital. The suspect would get his mother's benefits by post every month, but a new postman had recently asked to see the beneficiary. When the son refused, he reported to the authorities and the body was discovered on Saturday. He said in questioning that he didn't want to forego his mother's money. He's believed to have been financially unable to pay for the funeral or keep the house he'd shared with his mother without the monthly stipend. That said, geez, what do you think of the plan?
We all go a little mad sometimes. He should have followed through with the psychotrope and dressed up as her and committed many crimes. At least he didn't do that.
That's true.
Part of you though is like, good job. Is that weird? Part of me is like,
yes.
She died already.
So what's the difference?
She died. He's only defrauding his fellow countrymen, and we fought them in the war. So like, what do I care?
sort of true. Okay, so there's a few issues with it. So one is like, I understand that the mother has passed. What happens to her body does not in any real sense matter. Louis C.K. had a bit about that, but like, I don't know. I feel like I want to imagine that my family is gonna treat my remains with respect and not like stick them in a shed so that they can get Social Security payments. Like, it just seems so fundamentally demeaning to a life that was lived. And for a family member to do that, like, I get that he was kind of desperate financially. It just seems wrong. My biggest issue though, and let me know what you think about this, is why the mummification? Like, it's not like he did something where he could continue to show her off like Weekend at Bernie's. Why?
Which is his first mistake, John. A lot of slapstick gallows humor to be had in that concept. I would assume, if I'm thinking it through, like, defiling a corpse, like improper disposal of remains. I think maybe those are crimes, but also it depends. I don't know this dude. Like, does he have like some other issues? Maybe was possible. He the one in the family when Gunta across in the brother Gunta was not taking care of the mother and he had to take care of the mother? Like, maybe he's like, I'm entitled to financial compensation for being the one who bit the bullet here and did it. I think there's plenty of like weird movies in which this guy's the hero.
Yeah.
But I'm not making any assumption. He might be a horrible, terrible, no good, very bad person. Or he might be a goddamn hero, John. And who am I to judge? I don't know the family.
Let's leave it up to the audience then. Maybe we can throw up another poll on Twitch.
There it is.
Twitch. Let's do that.
That's the enthusiasm we seek.
That's what we need. That's what we need. But anyway, yeah, just don't do this to my body when you're done. I want to be frozen and eventually reanimated once medical science catches up to whatever the Pop-Tarts have done to my body.
Do you have to write that in the will? Like, just so you know, if you are considering the mummification basement approach, hard pass.
Thank you. Yes, I'm being very clear. Yes, I would be totally fine just being on a tube, eating soup. Don't let me die ever. Anyway, okay, with that, are we ready to jump into this thing? Ready to take out some garbage? Yeah. Okay, well, Brett's gonna go first. It's the end of the week, and so it's time to take out the trash. Okay, Brett, clearly the mummified mom guy isn't gonna be your garbage person of the week. Who is going to receive that great honor?
Check out that video, by the way. Okay, so my garbage person of the week is collectively a lot of people who are like in this category of the vaxlash, like the backlash to the vaccine sort of mandate, especially for federal employees and people who are just wildly misremembering history. So first is Jim Jordan. We have a tweet of Jim Jordan who back in the day said, like a few days ago said, vaccine mandates are un-American, which is insane. And then also lately, as we didn't get a chance to show it earlier on, he said first they came for your guns and then they came for they told you couldn't go to church and now they want to mandate a vaccine. They're coming for your job. That dude. And then also here is a video that was going viral this morning of a guy who doesn't seem like he's in the military and hasn't actually said it yes or no one way or another, but his aunt is in the military and his grandfather updates him on text messages sent by the Secretary of Defense. So here's a sample of the kind of reaction. Take a look.
So I'm wearing my upside down flag today, and I think that's appropriate because it signifies an America that's in distress. And maybe some people don't know this, but my dad just let me know this. A text message went out last night from the Secretary of Defense to all the active military personnel saying, by 10 a.m. you have to go get the magic potion or you're going to be court-martialed. And so as a result of that, 12 F-22 pilots, the most highly trained pilots in the world, walked off the job. That's 12 multi-million dollar aircraft grounded now. A dozen of the best pilots in the world thousands of hours of training, millions of dollars of training off the job.
Off the job. All right, so that happens. He then later says, like, and they, those people protect Taiwan. I'd hate to be Taiwanese right now. Buddy, you're a deserter. I don't know who you are, and I don't even know if this story that he's spreading is true. I spent some time this morning trying to verify whether that account is accurate or if this is the kind of thing that people just pass around that was the original definition of fake news. But that's not my point here. My point here is the kinds of arguments that people are making in the wake of this that just don't hold up either logically or historically. So if we can go to this graphic that's from an article in the Washington Post, I don't have it in front of me, so I'm going to read it when you toss it up there. But like, so yeah, he said with F-22s grounded, you can kiss Taiwan goodbye. I would hate to be Taiwanese right now. But also the other one from the Washington Post, did I not have it? Anyways, George Washington, I'll read it to you right now. George Washington said in 1777, George Washington mandated inoculations for the soldiers under his command in the Continental Army, writing that if smallpox were to break out, quote, we should have no more dread from it than from the sword of the enemy. So George Washington mandated vaccines to be delivered to his army, our army, so that people would not die from smallpox during the Revolutionary War. So if you're against that, you're un-American. If you're going to decry critical race theory because everything the founders did, whether misguided or not at the time, was in keeping with the great American promise, then you are espousing your own critical race theory in this situation because you're saying that actually the president, the first president of the United States was un-American, and America was founded by evil, terrible, no good, very bad people. Yeah. And you are doing that. It's so stupid.
I love the stuff that you're totally right. And yeah, and look, we know many of the people they now follow have previously been in favor of mandates. And again, it's not a mandate. And members of the military have had to be inoculated against a million different things forever. But I love what's not said. Like, so he's like, they walked off the job. Well, but should they have? Like you just said that they went through thousands of hours of training and millions of dollars of training, and they've trained their minds and their bodies, and they did all that, and they won't take the vaccine, assuming your probably fake news story is actually true. Should they have denied it? Why is that where they draw the line? They're willing to do all this other stuff. They've done all this other stuff, but they won't take the vaccine. And you think that they're the good guys in this story? That seems weird.
One of our producers is a Navy veteran. He said like when he got deployed, he had to take vaccines to go get deployed. You had to take vaccines. Like that's part of it.
Yeah,
that's all this is.
It's not. Good garbage person or garbage people there, Brett. For my garbage person of the week, we actually have, I don't know if this is a returning garbage person, but it's something we've talked about before. You're gonna see this garbage person in an interview in Boston to promote his new book. Let's take a look at this.
So at least as I look at things now, I would guess that at some time relatively early in the upcoming term, you will announce plans to retire. Am I wrong?
I'm only going to say that I'm not going to go beyond what I previously said on the subject. And that is that I do not believe I should stay on the Supreme Court or want to stay on the Supreme Court until I die. And when exactly I should retire or will retire has many complex parts to it. I think I'm aware of most of them, and I am and will consider them.
Well, what are the factors that a justice?
Oh, there are quite a few, and I'm not going beyond what I said for the simple reason that I would like this interview to be about my book.
So.
The sound of rights being taken away. And this guy being totally willing to be part of a process that could result in a 7-2 conservative Supreme Court in a country that is not conservative, that is not trying to elect conservatives. They could end up getting effectively the entire Supreme Court. We already went through this once before, and Justice Breyer is still just, it's a joke to him. I've got my reasons. I won't even tell you what they are, but I'll decide for myself someday, maybe, when it's President Carlson or President Green or President Trump again, whatever. It's up to me. It's all about me. I'm the most important person. And if it means that some of your rights have to be taken away, it doesn't bother me. I'm gonna chuckle about it as I try to hawk a book to you. So he's my garbage person, Justice Breyer.
I always thought that like surgeons were the most pompous schmuckos because they're like, I cut open bodies and save them. And only I know how. My hands are so steady. Imagine what it must do to you to be a Supreme Court justice. You're not a judge. You are justice. And everybody is there like, oh, what's he gonna say? How many more opinions you got to write, buddy? And how many more experiences do we have to go through where we were this close to being smart about this stuff? And do you care about it? Do you care about it? Because this guy also recently came out and said that the decision that was made and handed down by the Supreme Court was very, 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 very wrong. And he said about whether to stop the Texas abortion law. And he was like, this is very, very, very wrong. The reason that happened is because of horrible decisions like the one you're making right now.
Yep. Yeah. You exist in a political system. This is not just about you. It's not just about you, but he's making it just about him. And like you got to be a justice for years and years and years, but it's never enough for some people. It all has to be about them, about their stupid books, about their stupid legacy or whatever. Well, think about what your legacy is gonna be like when you get replaced with Janine Pirro or something. So anyway, those are our garbage people, but who did you all think should be the garbage person of the week? Well, 30,000 of you voted. By the way, more than 60,000 have now voted on last week's poll. That is incredible when you think about it. But you have 5, and so at number 5 with just 3% of the vote, Matt Walsh for his sexist tirade against female sports reporters. Nobody likes him even in the poll. Number 4 with 4% of the vote is Sarah Palin for calling AOC a fake feminist over Abbott comments. Surprised that's as low as it is. And number 3 with 8% of the vote is Sean Spicer and Kellyanne Conway for refusing to step down from military boards. Number 2 with 21% of the vote is Laura Ingraham for claiming Robert E. Lee united the country. That's a good one. But man, you guys really wanted Larry Elder, 64% of the vote. Larry Elder for arguing slave owners deserve reparations. It is really bad, admittedly. That was a really dumb thing to say. So thank you to everybody who voted in that poll. Much appreciated, community. Brett, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. I appreciate what you're gonna do for us next Friday when you lead the damage report. How exciting is that?
15-minute damage report on Friday next week. I'm just gonna get in, get out, make it efficient. John just drones on and interrupts me and is like, he doesn't let me wrap it up. You know what I mean? So we're just gonna be quick about it and let you guys go on for your weekend. Jordan's confirmed. Really chill guy will be joining us.
Jordan is going to be. Jordan is going to choose a garbage person. Has Jordan ever chosen a garbage person?
Yes, he sat in for me 1 week.
He did. Okay, exciting. Well, we're going to see who he's got for you this time. But thank you again for that. Lots of exciting stuff coming up next week. By the way, we'll give you more details on Monday. But in any event, I'll be leading the first hour of the Young Turks Power Panel. Ida Rodriguez is back. Cenk Uger's going to be there. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up. But anyway, until then, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. And see you soon.
welcome. It's indisputable. Good to be with you. We got a lot on the agenda. Breaking down news of the day, I got the big homie, Dan Evans, will be on the show. Host of Power Report, Audio Face, will join me. And in the bullpen, Quill Robinson, Vice President of Government Affairs, American Conservative Coalition. We're gonna talk about the environment. Okay, top news story of the day. This is a remarkable story because school teachers are remarkable people. Those who work with children are amazing folks. I want you to see this video.
You still got that? You still got your money? $1,500.
$1,500.
It's yours, baby. It was a little bit more, and so the school got together and we raised the rest of the money, and it's yours. We love you. We love you. We love you, Chris. We love you.
Oh my stars. There is a God. Oh my stars. Thank you. Thank you all. I thank you all. I thank you all. Oh, thank you.
Oh, it's all the people.
Thank you. Just let you know that what they say about people is not real. It is not real. This here, I never would have dreamt of something like this. This is mind blowing to me.
76,000 miles.
I see this on Instagram and Facebook and internet and be like, oh my God.
So
man.
little grandma had it.
Megan found it yesterday and she texted me, and it belonged to a girl that we went to church with. And so we called her and worked the deal, and we knew we needed a little bit more money. So
you said the $1,500, and
so we posted on Facebook, hey, we found a car, we need a little bit more money. And everybody chipped
within
in.
minutes.
If y'all was in yesterday. My body right now, I can't move. I'm stuck. I'm really stuck. Like this gonna be mine.
This is yours.
As we're walking up, I'm looking like, oh, this is a nice.
It's yours.
Well, let's see you in it. Get in it.
Oh man! Wow.
You're never allowed to leave our school now.
Wow.
That is Mr. Chris. Mr. Chris is the head custodian at Unity Grove Elementary School in Henry County. Henry County is in the metropolitan area of Atlanta. This was a gift. According to a Facebook post from the elementary school, 2 faculty members, Miss McDonald and Miss Combs, collaborated to raise money to buy the car with about 76,000 miles on it for a little more than $1,500. He said, and I quote, "I never would have dreamt of something like this. This is mind-blowing to me." The school said staff did not know at the time they happened to purchase his favorite type of car. Unity Grove is a special place, and we are so grateful for the people who are in our lives. That's on the school's Facebook page. Let's show another still of Mr. Chris, full of joy. Let's show a screenshot of these 2 educators who coordinated this whole thing because their head custodian has to walk to work every day. Now bring it back to me. The reason why I wanted to open the show with that story is because we highlight a lot of nuances in social, political land every day. And much of it is violent, confrontational, divisive. But I wanted us to be reminded that there are schools like this and there are people like this all over our country. These are the people. These are the champions. These are the educators and the workers and the custodians, the people who make this country worth fighting for. Dan, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I love that we're starting with a really nice feel-good story because you don't get a lot of those, and you don't see a lot of, unfortunately, what I at least know to be the majority of the case, which are really lovely interactions with folks regardless of race. But I'll definitely say that I'm really happy to see that especially in the school context, I at least know that in a lot of the schools I went to I was definitely one of the few minorities that were there. Oftentimes, one of the people I would look to would be the custodian services people, because those folks would be people of color, and like there'd be some sort of like a bond or a connection there. Like they'd like look out for me in that kind of way. So I like and they're often seen like they're behind the scenes. They're just keeping the school clean. They're not even thought of as like the main workers when you think of teachers or the administrative staff or thing like that. So there's such a diligent job that goes oftentimes so underlooked. And so I'm really happy, honestly, that he got to have this like really good moment. And it was his favorite car too. I mean, he's gonna love that whip.
Man, I gotta bring this story up because you just touched my heart and brought a memory back to me. When I was in the 6th grade, I was in a situation where I no longer lived in the district, but I still wanted to go to the same 6th grade school. And so I walked about 5 miles early in the morning, every morning. And I walked back about 5 miles after school every day. And I would have to wait for everyone to leave because I didn't want anyone to see me walking, because they would start asking questions. Why are you walking? We have buses here. Why didn't somebody pick you up? Well, I would sleep in one of the classrooms until everybody was out of the school and all the buses were gone. And there was a custodian named Mr. Henry. And Mr. Henry caught me one day. He said, yeah, I saw you here one day. I was gonna let you slide, but I keep seeing you sleeping. I need to know what's going on. And I told him that I recently had to move outside of the district and I didn't want to move schools. Mr. Henry took me home every day. Never said a word to anybody. So big ups to Mr. Henry, our head custodian at Atherton Elementary. All right, shifting gears. This is not a feel-good story. 3 schools were forced into lockdown because of the Proud Boys teaming with anti-maskers. I kid you not. 3 schools in Vancouver, Washington went into lockdown last Friday after a group of anti-mask protesters with the Proud Boys attempted to gain entry into their school. Wow. Skyview High, Alki Middle, and Chinook Elementary were on high alert after local members of the Proud Boys extremist gang, frustrated parents of students, and other anti-maskers rallied against the requirement that students, staff, and teachers wear face coverings. The incident was just the latest example of the Proud Boys teaming up with anti-maskers to threaten school boards from Florida to New Hampshire over COVID mandates. Now, I want to remind you that 60+% of parents are in favor of these mask mandates, okay? And some places, it's over 70% of parents are in favor of these mask mandates for children because they work. The Proud Boys attempted to escort a freshman seeking a medical exemption. Y'all, they got the children involved, okay? Using them like pawns. From the mask mandate into the Vancouver school, according to witnesses, the attempted incursion prompted the call for a lockdown. The freshman's mom, Megan Gabriel, had claimed that the mask could trigger panic attacks in her daughter. The school had declined the request. There was no medical documentation for the proclamation of the parent. Patriot Prayer, I want you to remember that name. Patriot Prayer, a local far-right group, rallied supporters by saying that students would be arrested if they refused to comply with the mask mandate. That claim was 100% untrue, but they needed to manipulate the masses in order to get participation. So they lied and said, if students do not have on masks, they are going to be arrested. Carrying signs that read, masking kids equals abuse. And medical choice, your body, your choice. Now, do I really have to point to the irony of this? They literally have signs that say, your body, your choice. These are the same people who would say women do not have the right or the choice to do what they would like to do with their own bodies. Understand the hypocrisy that is involved here. Demonstrators rallied in front of the schools and on the sidewalks, near buses. Some protesters shouted slurs at female students walking, according to security guards who were walking on the premises. A student named Lucas was in the school during one of the lockdowns and said, and I quote, "All their learning gets disrupted. We have to sit down quietly, not make noise. And we were hunkered down in our classrooms for around an hour to an hour and a half." Wow. What's really disrupting the school? Mask? No. I've said before, any real teacher knows how to teach somebody. It doesn't matter if they have on a mask, if the teacher has on a mask. Hell, some teachers are so good, they can make the mask part of the curriculum, bring the lesson home. It's called pedagogy. Masks are not disrupting the educational moment. These clowns are. Dan, your thoughts, brother?
It's really disturbing to see. For folks who don't know, Vancouver, Washington, where this is taking place, is a really generally liberal kind of place. It's over on the border between Washington State and Oregon, not Vancouver in Canada. And yeah, to see, it looks like you see what's happening in a lot of areas where the majority of people aren't conspiratorial. They've gotten with it. They understand that, listen, sometimes inoculations and getting these shots can be kind of difficult, not the most fun thing, even though this is entirely safe and has been proven to be safe for months now. Getting this vaccine means you're not spreading this illness to other people in close spaces. You need to be in school. We've seen how much people have complained about learning getting disrupted on the left and the right. Parents are at their wits end because they need, schools are very important in our society. And so to see this disruption happen is shocking, but unfortunately not surprising.
Yeah, also not surprising that nobody's been locked up. They need to go to jail for this foolishness.
I'll also say that this is an example of Fox News rhetoric coming home to roost, because Tucker Carlson was saying, hey, if you see our kids, just months ago on his show, if you see kids who are being forced to wear masks, and parents are making them wear masks, you have to be basically active in that situation because it's child abuse. He was using the phrase child abuse. He was saying words similar to ripping the masks off kids' faces and getting involved in that kind of thing. So these people are watching this media, consuming this media, and this media is telling them to trust nothing else but them. And so this is what happens as a result. It's very dangerous, and we need to continue to revisit conversations about the effects of right-wing propaganda in our society.
Yeah, well said, brother. Okay, fed up prosecutor. Good, I'm glad there's a prosecutor fed up with injustice. A federal prosecutor, John Choi, the prosecutor who charged the officer who shot and killed Philando Castile. Remember that? Let me take you back to that. This is graphic.
I have to tell you, I do have a firearm on me. Don't reach for it, then. Don't pull it out. Don't pull it out.
We got pulled over for a busted tail light in the back, and the police, he's covered. They killed my boyfriend. He's licensed. He's licensed to carry. He was trying to get out his ID and his wallet out his pocket, and he let the officer know that he had a firearm and he was reaching for his wallet, and the officer just shot him in his arm.
Mr. Castile was murdered, okay? He had a right to have his gun constitutionally. He had his proper license in place, and he made an appropriate warning to law enforcement in order to make sure law enforcement did not make a mistake like that and kill him. He did everything right, okay? Did the NRA stand up for Mr. Castile? Did they really launch a campaign about gun owner rights for Mr. Castile? No. Because Mr. Castile does not fit their narrative. That's why. Has nothing to do with guns. It has everything to do with the narrative and gun manufacturers, okay? So there's a prosecutor who's now pissed off. Let's show a picture of this prosecutor. This is a good guy. His name is John Choi. John Choi charged that cop initially. He could not seal the deal. However, okay, a jury would later acquit the cop who killed Philando Castile. In honor of Castile, however, this DA announced that his office will no longer prosecute felony cases resulting from minor traffic stops for violations like an expired registration, overly tinted windows, or broken lights. Wow, that's a big deal. The change, Choi said, is a deliberate attempt to cut down on what he said are unnecessary stops by police of people of color that too often spiral into fatal incidents. He said, and I quote, "I'm not going to do this anymore. I am not going to perpetuate these unjust practices that disproportionately impact my community." Let's show this hero's picture again. Let's show it again. Mr. Choi. He said enough is enough. He's not playing along anymore. Remember, there's a concept called prosecutorial discretion. Usually they utilize it in order to overcharge people. He's now going to undercharge. He's saying, whatever comes from these types of arrests, it is in my prosecutorial discretion to prosecute or not. Choi said he hopes his jurisdiction, where racial disparities are pervasive, can see a similar decline. St. Paul, Ramsey County's largest city, 43% of all traffic stops in 2020 involved Black drivers, despite the fact that Black people only make up 16% of the population in the city. In Roseville, Minnesota, 28% of traffic stops in 2020 involved Black drivers, more than triple the 8% of Black residents in the city. You have other prosecutors that are following suit. Marilyn Mosby is doing something very similar, and you have others. This is now catching on. This is a progressive idea, okay? Dan, thoughts?
Overall, I'm just really happy to see someone actually stand up and say, this is something that is negative in society. This is something that criminalizes communities. I've talked many times on TYT of my own stories about people making sure, hey, don't hang up your placard for getting into the parking garage, or else the cops will pull you over for having something hanging in your car or whatever, or brake lights or whatever. I really like activists when they reach out into communities of color and they do brake checks for people and like prepare brake lights just to make sure they don't get pulled over by the police. So overall, all these measures to make sure that we don't have these unnecessary run-ins with police officers who as an institution have shown that they are at least unwilling to try to address within themselves these issues where during stops they escalate to the point of fatality. The most we can do to prevent ourselves from getting to that point is the best we can do.
Man, I love it, brother. Put that very nicely. We got more on the other side. Stick and stay is indisputable.
I'll predict right here for you, Chris. I think Donald Trump will leave office before his term is up. He'll be humiliated, embarrassed, and I know him. He's not gonna wanna lose, and he's gonna run for the hills.
You got that bet all day long.
Okay, let's get after it. Now, so look, Jake has made some good predictions, and this is in good fun. I could not disagree more.
There's a little bromance between the two of them. You got that bet all day long, Janky, you. Oh, you stop. In the meantime, let's call him out on the damage.
No, but
I just got a Roku set. That'll basically a little bit of channel surfing, and I was like, there we are.
Yeah.
There we are. And then I turned it on, and it was John and Brett on Damage Report making fun of me.
Oh no.
So you are so busted. I even took a picture of it, okay? And they're talking about my predictions. I got a new prediction for you, John Iadarola.
You're doing a show that's blowing the doors off everybody.
Young Turks is the largest online news network, not a big deal. We're gonna rock the boat. We're gonna be counter-establishment. We're gonna tell people the truth to the best of our abilities. We're so sick of this corruption. We're not the robots on TV. I actually care about the news. Guilty, I care.
Fourth day on Occupy Wall Street. Last night we launched Wolfpack.
It's us pushing our ideas out there, trying to help the country in every way that we can, trying to make this place just a little bit better.
Reporting from the Hillary-Bernie debate. I gotta be honest, you know what we do? We cover it for real.
For us, this system isn't working.
Free and fair elections.
And when he told the cops that day, when they came to drag her away, and he said, if you're gonna chain her, you're gonna chain me. If you're gonna arrest her, you're gonna arrest me.
Hi, I'm Bartholomew Joseph Kyle. I do audio for the main show, The Young Turks. I also do audio for Post Game. I started in 2006. I met Cenk Uygur at the Iraq for Sale screening that was directed by Robert Greenwald. And watching that, I want to figure out a way to be part of something that's genuine and authentic.
All right, welcome back. We got a lot of comments. Before I get to those comments, let me remind you, if you are watching Indisputable right now on the Damage Reports YouTube page, that is going to stop on September 30th, okay? So you have to subscribe. I'm sorry, September 13th. Excuse me, September 13th. You're gonna have to subscribe to the Indisputable TYT page. It's real simple, real easy. Don't miss the bullpen. Don't miss I Wish You Karen Wood. Don't miss any of the news of the day, all right? Indisputable TYT, make that happen, and everything will keep rolling just as it is. If you are already a member, your homework is to get 5 more people to become members of Indisputable TYT. Listen, we're at 199,000 subscribers already. We'll be at 2,000 by today, okay? That's because of you. And I thank you, every single one of you, for making this program such an amazing success, all right? Also, we got some more good news. I got more good news next week, but I can tell you about this good news today. We are now available on podcast, okay? So this is coming Monday. You can search for Indisputable with me on Acast, on the Acast app. Also, Apple Podcast and other places you get your podcast, all right? Make sure you follow and give us 5 stars if you believe in the show, okay? Thank you so much. The conversation, we good on that. All right, Galaxy Brain. Catch Galaxy Brain with Ben Carollo, the big homie, right after Indisputable. That is a Twitch program, twitch.tv/TYT. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go to some of these comments, okay? Mickey C, the silver hair dragon TYT member. Oh hell, I cried when I saw this video earlier. Now you're making me cry again. I know it's really heartfelt, right? Yeah. Kelly O'Hara, this is my poet. I see you on Fox talking up a big game, all noise. This is about Larry Elder. I see you on Fox talking up a big game, all noise with no point. Ain't that a shame? You're running your mouth, acting tough against Biden. Well, from where I sit, you keep ducking and hiding. You keep trying to rap and you don't have a flow. You're scared of this truth, but you'll get it though. Hashtag Cold Feet Larry. And let me tell y'all something. When I told y'all to troll Larry Elder because he's been ducking and dodging me, y'all, when I got like 300 tags on social media with you all telling Larry Elder to debate me. Listen, I'm good with it, okay? 9 times out of 10, trolling is bad. But that 1 out of 10, that's what you're doing. All right, Mary Bryan. Portland and Vancouver have had enough of these jerks. I wish they would be held accountable ever. They get away with so much here, yeah. Thank you, YouTube Super Chat. Nicolette, greetings from Vancouver. They are finding alliances in each other and excited by it. Also, one of the PBs prayed over the child outside. He has a record of violence. Then they cried about the police in their Telegram groups. Wow, Chill Will. Have a wonderful weekend, Dr. Richard. Be blessed, brother. Thank you so much, Chill. Elizabeth D'Alio. Rashad, you're saying it wrong. Anti-mask vax parents are teaming up with domestic terrorist organizations to shut down schools. I stand corrected, okay? That is domestic terrorism. Jim Weaver, Desired of Dragon. The one good thing that came from Castile's murder is that my parents and people like them found that it can happen here. They're having talks with their friends of color that they never had. That's a bad silver lining, but it is a silver lining, right? Freedom Fighter, those 2 ladies made up for all the Karens this week. I don't know, I got 2 more for you today. I don't know, hold on to that thought, okay? Dragon Dane, so wonderful to watch, love, thank you, Doc, thank you too. And Bernie, the Kiwi Dragon, excuse me. Any news on, I knew this was coming. Any news on indisputable paraphernalia from the shop, Dr. Richie? Didn't I say I had another announcement next week? Didn't I just tell you that? Gosh. All right, thank you for that, Bernie. Twitch, Radiant Trobin Lee, Radiant Robin Lee. I really need to see the kindness and compassion today. What a wonderful story to start. Yeah. Resto Dragon says, Dr. Richie is an extraordinary person. The more I hear about him, the more I'm impressed. The man is a role model for anyone, young and old alike. I appreciate you saying that. I'm a regular guy from Glenwood Road. Thankful for another opportunity and chance at life to get it right, okay? But thank you for the sentiment. Ladies and gentlemen, this was just so damn sad. A high school student whose grandmother just died of COVID-19, this student was mocked, not by the students, but by the parents. This is in Rutherford County, Tennessee. A student who advocated for a mask mandate before the school board shared a deeply personal story, but was interrupted, ridiculed, laughed at by anti-maskers. Here's the video.
I'm worried about my family. If I get COVID, I'm gonna bring it to my family. And I talk to my grandparents a lot. They're higher risk than me, so I don't wanna give them COVID. This time last year, my grandmother who was a former teacher at the Rutherford County School System, died of COVID because someone wasn't wearing a mask. This is a very
Hey guys, we're here to act professional. Please, sir, go ahead.
Thank you. This is an avoidable issue, and by not wearing masks in schools, it's irresponsible. We're killing people. This is not something that we should be doing for the education of our students. Thank you.
It's amazing how the roles will switch, right? Like he sounds like a parent and then the parents sound like children. That's what Trump would do to you, okay? Let me give you some background to this. One board member expressed how ashamed the 7 members of the board felt, promising nothing like that would happen again. The young man involved, his name is Grady Knox. Knox said, and I quote, "If they laugh at me about a personal story about my grandmother, that's just disrespectful. I feel so. I was shaking a little bit. I hope that they can see that there's people like me that want to see change and look past all of the hecklers. As long as I can get my message across, I don't really think it matters that what the crowd thinks of me. Overall, they're not the ones making the decisions for the school." That's an amazing young man. That's an amazing young brother right there. Amazing. Let's show a picture of this woman who was laughing and part of the anti-mask brigade. She's a registered nurse. Her name is Erica Casher. Ms. Casher is a frequent at these school board meetings, pretending as if she gives a damn about children. There was one right in front of you, Ms. Casher. You didn't care about that one. Knox gets the last laugh though, because on Thursday, the Rutherford County School Board has voted to require masks in schools. The young man won. Really a victory for everybody in the school system. Becoming the latest Middle Tennessee district to institute a mask mandate. The mandate goes into effect on September 13th and will last until October 14th, and they will re-evaluate at that point, okay? Also, Knox, according to the system, will be invited back for a formal apology. We will likely update when that apology comes. The mandate, which passed on a vote of 5-2, automatically terminates the countywide positivity rate tops below 10% or 3 consecutive weeks, okay? This is really interesting. But once again, the minority is loud. They are not the majority. That's not the majority sentiment. Parents are for mask. School teachers are for mask. The science says masks work. Dan, thoughts here?
So many, I'll try to compress them as much as I can, but that, first of all, just even that video was the most naked and blatant example of the difference between, or the hierarchy that people have of their own personal freedoms and their perceptions of those personal freedoms versus the very real realities of those effects on other people. But people would love the ability to just not be able to drive or whatever, and not be able to drive without licenses, but we have to actually care about people and their like lives. So thankfully, at least it seems like Tennessee will be, this part of Tennessee will have at least a little bit of a mask mandate for a little bit of time to hopefully help things.
Yeah, and listen, it's all a process, right? It's chess, not checkers. And when I say that, I mean you're looking for positioning, right? There's no final move here. You are continuing to move down the board, keep positioning. This young man has the right idea. He will be back during the next meeting. Glad that he's part of the advocacy community, even inside of his school system. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I wish you Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday?
I feel free. Back off! I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
She's a chubby girl. She's got a dress on that's appropriate. It comes down to about top of her knees.
So you're sitting here calling me fat?
Oh, you don't think you are?
No, because I
I'm
sorry. No,
You
get
can-
the out of my face.
I don't have to. And don't swear at me like that.
I don't give a
I do. That's your problem. I do give but you don't. Obviously. Don't come back on that stage with those shorts. I'm warning you.
Who are you? Who are you? Who?
Read my name.
I see that, but who are you to tell me what I'm supposed to
Lower
do?
your
No,
voice.
get the out of my face!
Quit swearing at me.
Get out! I am 19 years old and I can do whatever I want.
Really?
Yes.
Try it.
Okay. Bye. 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 Because guess what? I've been recording this entire thing, and I will show my parents that I will never come back to this church because of how much you are disrespectful. You are so disrespectful. She called me fat. She called me fat.
Go in the bathroom. Go in the bathroom.
She is in there swearing.
The victim of this church leader, Karen, gave an update. I want us to go to that update now, and then I will give you some significant background to what happened here. Here's the update that the young lady just posted recently.
Hey guys, I just kind of wanted to do an update many years later after that situation happened. I haven't really seen Bonnie Sue since then. I stopped going to church really, kind of discovering myself right now. As for Bonnie Sue, I really don't know what's going on in her life. I'm just kind of staying away from that and been minding my own business and doing myself. I will say that she has tried to push my family's buttons and did try to get close to them and interact with them the past few years, but I think she's finally gotten it, is that we don't want anything to do with her. I just wanted to say welcome and thank you to the people who are coming from Reddit and discovering my video right now. Thank you for reaching out to me and sharing the love, because I really appreciate that. I did let the church know that there is a second wave of people coming through and just wanted to forewarn them, because if anyone's trying to reach out to them, I promise they did everything that they could do during that situation, and they were absolutely amazing. I'm still in contact with my pastors. They are still absolutely wonderful, and if I ever needed to go to them, they always had their door open for me. For anyone else trying to find my other social medias, I use different names for everything pretty much, but if you're trying to find me on Instagram, it's Gina with a G _Todd 9308. And I think it's Jenna Rue for TikTok. It's Jenna _Rue 10.
All right, send us something nice, okay? Here's the thing. This supposed church leader who was part of the United Methodist Church at the time, and by the way, this is contrary to the sentiment of the United Methodist Church, and they did handle it quickly, all right? This particular Karen, her name is Bonnie. Remember, she said, what does my name tag say? Well, it says Bonnie. I know today is Bonnie Sue, all right? She followed this 19-year-old in the bathroom to say these very damaging words from a trusted church figure, all right? Now, some people on social media had a problem with the way the young lady responded inside of that church. Let me say this. I'm so glad she responded that way. You know why? Because a lot of times when a trusted adult, when somebody you have respect for, when they try to shatter you, you internalize it. She did not internalize a damn thing. She told that woman exactly how she felt. Good for her. All right, Dan, this was an extreme situation, obviously. This is a good update, in my opinion. I'm glad she's smiling and doing well. Your thoughts here?
I'm the best thing about this to me, or one of the nicer things about this that makes the story stand out, is how she's still in touch with people from the church, the pastor. Yeah. She said she would go back to them in an instant if necessary, and that does go against the tide of seeing that not all churches are hateful, not all churches are full of like bigoted people. They're actually people who will come out and support you. Unfortunately, there are too many folks like that, and churches should, and thankfully the United Methodist did here, do what they need to do to make sure that you have as few of these people as possible. But I'm glad that she still has people connected in that church that she can reach out to, and that she's overall doing fine.
Yeah, and it also shows her level of maturity as well.
Absolutely.
Just an update on Bonnie Sue. She was a past delegate of the North Carolina Conference of the United Methodist Church. She later resigned from all leadership roles within the church. Okay, all right. We got more on the other side. Stick and stay is indisputable.
You know what the progressive movement needs? It needs a little energy, a little pizzazz, maybe a little caffeine. Oh, coffee. But what if it was Too Strong Coffee? Yes, new, toostrongcoffee.com/TYT. Look, this helps progressive causes. It's also organic and fair trade, so you've got peace of mind that it was done right, and it happens to taste great. So check it out right now at toostrongcoffee.com/TYT.
That 300 million is a pretty good number, Well, that's the size of the US population. You know what our next target is? The size of the entire world.
We just crossed 5 billion views on YouTube.
I mean, imagine 10 years ago thinking one day.
We looked at you like, are you nuts?
Young Turks has just passed another milestone. 15 billion views.
Damn.
All right, lots of comments. You guys are the best.
I'm gonna read a few comments from our members.
Mr. Methuselah says on YouTube, super chat, thanks for all the important work you do for TYT for the movement.
Do you know who had the first super chat when I got back from vacation? You won't be surprised to find out. Rob Shively. What do you know? Rob says, rejoice for Dragon Daddy has returned.
This question sent to us by Izzy Sanchez Jr. Is it me or is Meghan McCain talking as fast as Ben Shapiro? Is that the way the right tries to look smart and intellectual? Well, yes.
Michael Nathan writes it on Twitter. Did Anna choose Cenk's outfit today? I'm sure it wasn't Cenk himself. Man Bun Jenkins Skinny Jeans says, so now Anna has pointed out, okay, that's his handle.
T. Joyce 1971 saying Donald Trump is good at pulling out of things, NAFTA, the Iran deal, NATO. It's just too bad Fred Trump didn't.
All right, let me do a little quick plug here. It's not even a plug, I'm bragging, okay? I'm bragging, watch me. We have a channel on YouTube, a whole channel devoted just to the Young Turks. It's badass, right?
Wow, man.
I can see the voice.
You guys are rock stars.
Unbelievable, Senator Sanders. Welcome to Rebel Headquarters. Man, you guys are amazing. We gave you what you wanted. Okay. Speaking of shirts.
I have a surprise.
You reached a lot of people. You are the Young Turks. And we have spread that progressive message wide and far. Let's keep it going.
Here's what we do. We go beyond the headline. We are willing to engage in transparent conversations with those who do not think like me. We also make sure that you know what's happening not only nationally, but in your local area. Make sure you tune in to Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, Monday through Friday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time.
Cool news, shoptyt.com now has books. There's a whole bunch of books there. You're gonna be shocked to find out that they're largely progressive. Of course! Ryan Grimm's book, We've Got People, is there. It's a fantastic story from Jesse Jackson to Bernie Sanders to AOC that explains the progressive movement probably better than any book I've ever read. Speaking of awesome books, my dad's got a book out called The Original Young Turk, where he goes from the poorest olive farmer you ever met in your life to living the American dream.
All right, welcome back. We got a lot of your comments. And don't forget, if you're watching Indisputable on the Damage Reports YouTube page, you got to make the switch, all right? You have to make the switch. They have been so remarkable at making sure we had a good lead into the show, but that is going to stop September 13th. But fret not. All you got to do is go to Indisputable TYT on YouTube and subscribe. It's easy, it is free, it is quick, and it's the right thing to do. 199,000 subscribers. Make sure you're part of that 200,000 goal, all right? I appreciate all you do in advance. Also, we are, starting Monday, going to be available, podcast, all right? Acast app, all right? And anywhere you get your podcast from, Apple, we there too. Make sure you check us out on Monday. I'm very excited. Follow the show and make sure you give us 5 stars if you appreciate the programming. Let's go to these amazing comments. TYT member Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon, says, more childish adults who have no decorum, no respect for others. That ignorant woman laughing while chewing her cud actually stuck her tongue out at Grady. That is the age mentality of these cultists on a level with their deranged God Trump. Dana Manning. And conservatives wonder why people are leaving the church. Exactly, she left the church. See, she said she was gone. She finished with that church. Progress Spire strikes back. Someone please call this young lady and remind her that she is beautiful and tell her she did a remarkable job defending herself against the demon. Good stuff, thank you. Peter Hanby. What world are we living in where adults are making childish mockery of a child who expressed his grief about a lost family member while behaving like an adult? If they want COVID in their home, yeah. Michael Norrish, kind of afraid to ask. I love the Kara segments, but are they recent or from an archive? Regardless of your answer, I don't know which one is more depressing. By the way, love the show. Well, some of them are very recent, like just happened maybe the day before, sometimes day of. Some of them are a little more dated and they did not get the attention I feel they deserve, but they highlight a very important social dynamic. So I bring them to you. And sometimes we do what we're about to do. I give you a Flashback Friday double dose.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday?
I feel great. Back off! I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
No, you did that. Now you're going to jail. Now you're going to jail. That's not our problem.
You can go, man.
Better run.
I mean, really.
Now you can go. She's decided to be an idiot.
Jeez.
I know some of you are wondering what in the hell just happened. Well, let me give you some background. According to the person who recorded the video, this was all about her boyfriend, former boyfriend, who was leaving and on the bus trying to get away from her because she was being abusive. I gotta say this, I believe him, given the video we just saw. And given the strength of the impact of breaking that windshield. You know, buses are built to last, okay? That's not a simple feat to just break the windshield of a bus that's built a certain way to last, right? So she decided to inconvenience everybody on that bus because her ex-boyfriend, who he claims was that she was abusive to him, that's why he was getting out of there. She then became abusive to that bus and made sure that nobody could leave if she could not. Now if she could not get him off the bus. Now she knew what she did was wrong because when she broke that window and people started saying you're going to jail, she got the hell up out of there, all right? She had enough sense to know that. Dan, sometimes, brother, you just gotta let it go. You know what I mean?
You just gotta take your L's and move on. But honestly, that is, I'm still distraught by how strong that punch was. Like, that was amazing force there. Like, that's a pretty open and shut case where, like, thankfully that guy is getting out of that situation. It gets better from there, dog. Just like have a couple of your favorite libation of choice, and like there will be better fish in the sea. I guarantee you that. Ones that don't like have the fist that breaks the bus windshield. Like, buses get in accidents and the windshield in the front are totally fine. You'd imagine, oh, it's a flat thing, the bus is gonna be really bad in an instant. No, like, you're really bad in a bus accident or whatever. So I'm impressed by her force, but you gotta just know when to take your L's and move on.
Yeah, you do. All right, unfortunate situation, but I'm glad the guy who claims he was being abused is safe. All right, ladies and gentlemen, drunk anti-maskers freak out on a flight before getting booted off. And listen, just go to the video.
Max, go forward. I don't care. How dare you shovel? That pillow dragged it on my nose. Made me wait 4 hours for this flight. Do you understand that? You made me wait 4 goddamn hours. You gave me one warning. One warning. That's it. The second he said something, I pulled it over my nose. No, give me my. Give me my. Give it to me. Go get it.
Okay, record. Was it making the letter? Okay, my son.
Your nose is showing when you approach me. You know that? Your nose is showing when you approach me.
To put it on.
I got an expensive watch on board. I got my backpack on board.
They're kicking us off. I don't know why. We're American. Civilians, everything. That's it. And let's Frank with JetBlue won't tell me why. So it's okay. Everyone, goodbye. Let it go viral. Everyone I know is an attorney. I'm Bacardi. Have you heard of that?
I'm not the type of guy. I'm a vaccinated person. I respect all your rules. Every single one of them. I respect your rules. Okay? You gave me one warning because my neck pillow pulled it down. The wife came off unmasked. The wife just came off unmasked. She came off unmasked because you guys are causing a scene. Turn around. Turn around. Face everybody, Frank. Face everybody, Frank. Go ahead. Turn around. See why you're holding me.
You should have quit while you were not ahead. Now you're really far behind. So let me dissect this. First, there's a violation of the actual rules. While the guy is yelling, he respects the rules. Remember, this started because they were not respecting the masking rules of the airline. That's number one. Number two, he then physically assaulted an actual employee. He put his hands on an employee trying to regain entry to the airplane. We see that on the video. He also complained about only receiving one warning. Now, I can imagine in his privileged mind, he's saying, now, damn it, I'm a white man. I deserve at least 3 warnings. And then, as the spouse is leaving the plane because it's time for them to go, she decides in her explanation to demonstrate how she is in fact a mask violator by taking off the mask in order to be camera ready for her explanation of how she is not an anti-mask person. Wow, there is so much here. Let me quickly read the statement from JetBlue. JetBlue said, and I quote, "The customers will not be allowed to fly JetBlue in the future." I don't need to say anything else. It's a bigger statement. Y'all can put that whole statement up there. That's all I needed to hear. Okay, that's it. Dan, thoughts here, brother?
Yeah, best endorsement of JetBlue ever. It's almost like when that guy got beat upside the head with Twisted Tea in that liquor store earlier this summer for being racist. Like I bought more Twisted Teas as a result of that. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get a JetBlue ticket to like the closest airport I can and fly back just to support him. No, there's so many great things in that. There's certain snippets of privilege you get in there. First of all, when a drunk person is telling you that they are being calm and civil, loudly, drunkenly berating you when they're at a thing, just great start. First of all, I've been there, but great start to your entire thing. But the privilege in there, he's waited for 4 hours on this flight. Probably everyone else did too.
That's right.
He has expensive stuff on the flight. Okay, whatever, man. People have their belongings on flights too. I love the idea that he's running through like his matrix of options here to like get himself back on the plane. He's like, what if I tell them I have expensive things? Right. Like, come on. And then the lady goes, it's okay. It's okay. All my friends are attorneys. Every single one of my friends are attorneys. They're gonna send you one lawsuit each. And it's gonna be great. I'm civil and I like masks. And just one attorney. I love it. I love so much of that. Again, because like I said, I've been on the other side of this where I've accidentally made a scene. Not in that kind of manner and not about masks, but like you gotta know when to just move on. Just move on. Just have some water and move on.
That's it, man. All right, brother, always a pleasure to have you on Indisputable. Tell people how they can follow you and check you out.
Thank you, Doctor. Love the show. Follow me at Dan from the Web on Twitter. Check out Power Report where we're doing politics. Check out Audio Face where we're reviewing music, news, and culture. And sometimes that intersects with politics, but a lot of times it's just fun. But yeah, thank you again for having me on. Take care.
Always a great job, my friend. We'll talk very soon. Ladies and gentlemen, stick and stay. The bullpen is next.
Cenk Uygur is not here today, which means that I will be able to talk during the show. Now,
We'll see. We'll see.
Poor Cenk, under the bus.
My God, if Jesus came back, how much would the Republicans hate him? So now you have to give away all of your possessions to the poor. Steve King would be like, oh, Weezy. Everyone should be lucky enough to have a John Iadarola in their life.
You confused everyone.
Okay, sorry, I thought it was pretty clear.
Take a break now.
You can turn me to Dr. Manhattan as long as I get what Dr. Manhattan's packing, okay?
The liberal mom says, Mark Thompson, have you ever thought about doing one of those tapes that soothe people to sleep? Like Mark Thompson reads the phone book. I'd buy it.
If you'll buy it, I'll do it.
Emilio D'Amelio writes in, John, you are so thick. I love you. That's what he wrote.
Pork Chop Express writes in and says John Iadarola needs a new jacket.
Whoa.
Those 24-inch pythons are about to burst out of his sleeve.
You know, the two people here said that their moms were both in love with you over Beauty and the Beast.
Mm-hmm. That's an improvement. I usually get grandmothers.
Charlie Turk.
No, wait a minute, don't you dare.
Chemical castration when we return from the break.
I hope that, who they choose for the White House isn't just a borderline Klansman. That's all we gotta hope.
That's it, we will settle it.
She's cute.
I didn't say that about Laura Ingraham.
Scandal at TYT. Did Anna comment on my tan yet? No, she hasn't.
You're a good boss.
But Anna did say that I come in here today with a fresh mind. That's all I'm about. I'm about a fresh mind.
I can't with you right now. Okay?
She just can't. She can't, but nonetheless, we have to for another 3 hours. I'm back, baby. Let's rip in the Republicans. See, don't miss the live show. That's great. Tell people, if you're a member, you get the whole live show whenever you want, because this stuff doesn't go into any of the clips.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Iadarola. This is gonna be a big one.
Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
What's happening? I'm Dr. Rashad Richey, host of Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey. Here's the bottom line. I play no games about policy, period. Too many people's lives are at stake. So here's what I do. I challenge conservative ideology that hinders the growth of this country. I make sure we place our facts in proper context, and I have no problem debating anyone on a position that I have. Progressives have the ideas to change the world, but when you really look at it, progressives have always changed this world for the better. I want you to tune into my new show, Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey, right here on the TYT Network, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time. I'll see you there.
Everything that we've accomplished over the years is because of our members who've allowed us to remain independent of corporate interests and reach 20 million followers. Now is the time to bring as many people into the progressive movement as possible. We're inviting you to be the change and help bring a community-powered progressive change machine to life. Details are at tyt.com/change. If you're a member, thank you. We need you to remain so. If you're one of the thousands of viewers out there who's not a member yet, the time has come for you to join now. We need you more than ever. tyt.com/change.
All right, welcome back. We got a lot of show left. The bullpen is coming up. Before we get to the bullpen, let me just remind you, real important, make sure you make the switch. If you're watching Indisputable on the Damage Reports YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe to Indisputable TYT on YouTube. Do that now, because come Monday, all right, September 13th, you would not be able to watch the show from there. You would have to watch it on Indisputable TYT. Never miss Wisha Karen Wood, never miss the bullpen, all of that great stuff. If you are already subscribed tell 5 of your friends to subscribe this weekend. We got 199,000 subscribers. We're about to hit that 200,000 mark because of you. Thank you for being so supportive. Also, exciting news coming on Monday. The podcast is here. Starting Monday, this show will be available on Acast app, Apple, and where you get your podcast from, all right? It's gonna be quite cool. And follow the show. Click follow on the podcast and give us a 5-star rating, all right? You can also watch the conversation, you know about that. Galaxy Brain with the big homie Ben Carollo. That's right after Indisputable, that's on Twitch. Twitch.tv/TYT, all right? You can make that happen. Let's get to some of these comments. TYT member, Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon. Hell, if I were her boyfriend, I'd be afraid too. Some women are also domestic abusers, and I believe that she is one. I hope she was arrested. Her fast rise to violence is scary. Yeah, Rob, I'm certainly not eager to travel by plane for years, maybe. I'm not eager either, brother. Harp C8 super chat says, wonderful show, Dr. Richie. It is every day. And thank you so much for that. It's a team effort. Nathan Sanders, top 3 places where you absolutely better behave, even if you're white. Number 1, airplanes. Number 2, the court. And number 3, my mama's house. That was funny, I like that. Rocket Render, she has the iron fist. Rocket, I gotta say this, you're a person after my own heart. I love the iron fist, okay? All right. Ricardo Chucky, Fox News headline, patriots are being harassed by airline workers. That's exactly the headline. Yes, people who love America are being harassed by people who work on airplanes. Peachy Shari said, LOL, I literally laughed out loud at he's a white man, he deserves 3 warnings. That's right, yeah, all right, thank you so much for those amazing comments. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bullpen. All right, in the bullpen today, we have back again, Quill Robinson, VP of Government Affairs and American Conservation Coalition. How are you, sir?
Doing well, thanks for having me back.
Thanks for being back on the program. Let's chop it up, man. I don't wanna presume what you know or believe about corporation and climate. I do remember that you think there's this marriage of deregulation and environmental safety. So I would like you to give us your sentiment as it relates to how companies, corporations would be better environmental stewards if there's no regulation in the market or less.
Well, again, thanks for having me back, Dr. Richie, and looking forward to talking more about this important subject. I think it's important to define what we're going for here. So if we're talking about climate change, which is definitely the biggest environmental issue that we're facing right now, we want to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and prepare communities for change, right? And we're gonna need a lot of shifts to happen in the economy in order to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And that's gonna require a lot of innovation and new technologies that are gonna help us lower those greenhouse gas emissions. And so my point here when it comes to regulation is there is red tape, there is regulation that currently exists that is getting in the way of those sorts of innovations from happening. And so I'm not saying strip away all regulation. What I am saying is we wanna make it as easy as possible for those innovations that will help us fight this very important issue of climate change, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and get in the direction that we want to go. And I think that that's something that we can probably agree upon because we need more innovations in order to address this issue.
I do agree with the innovation point of view. And let me read something. This is from Harvard Business Review. And it says that the research finds that global emission levels are lower for countries with tighter environmental regulations. They are higher in countries that have looser environmental regulations. That's a real cause and effect reality. What they also found in the research, the data reported by Harvard Business Review, is that many times when there is regulation in the marketplace, some of these companies, some of these corporations will simply go to a foreign country that has less regulation in the market in order to pollute more, for lack of a better phraseology. And what they found is that companies may transfer polluting operations to those countries. The idea behind the data, or the conclusion, is that these companies increase their polluting activities when there's either an option domestically where there's deregulation, or an option internationally where there's a deregulated reality for them. So my question to you is, based on the actual research, and this was published in 2021, very recent study, based on the behavior of these corporations, what makes you think that if left up to their own will, right? You have more deregulation, it increases or enhances innovation. Great, I think that's a good tool. What makes you think this will work, a positive for environmental realities for everybody in this country and beyond, when they don't take advantage of those innovations outside of the United States of America, when they are in a deregulated foreign country?
Sure. Well, Dr. Ritchie, I don't think that we should be exporting jobs to other countries, and I certainly don't think we should be exporting our pollution to other countries. I think we agree on that. But that's going to require creating an economic environment where you both have a reasonable amount of environmental regulation and at the same time are creating the economic conditions for that innovation to happen. There was a report released by C3 Solutions just this year, and they found that free economies are in fact cleaner economies when it comes to the environment. So what do I mean by free economies? Those are places where there are strong property rights, there are strong incentives for innovation, where it's easy to start a business. And in fact, what this report found from C3 Solutions was that the economies that were freer actually were twice as clean as more heavily regulated and top-down, mandate-heavy economies that actually do not spur that sort of innovation. And so there's pretty clear evidence that we actually can do both. And I think that that's the position that the United States should be putting ourselves in, is a place where we can see that innovation, have reasonable regulation, and have both that economic prosperity and environmental sustainability that we're looking for.
You do make a compelling point. Let's talk about how the message continues to permeate, especially among Republicans, because Democrats are on the right side of at least the environmental justice issue, knowing that there's a real cause and effect between what man does and what happens to our environment. You do agree that what we do here impacts the environment around us, right?
Absolutely, and as a conservative, I feel like I have a personal responsibility to make sure that I'm caring for my community and my environment, and that when I have kids in the future, that I'm passing on a world that is healthier. And I think that really comes from my faith, my conservative perspective on the world, and a sense of responsibility. And I think that that's something that actually is very strong if you're talking to folks in rural or red communities, whether they're farmers or hunters or fishermen. They actually think about that a lot, and that's something that is that sentiment is very present in those communities.
Well, Republicans don't think about it enough. So let me give you some more data. And I appreciate what you said, because I've often made the comparison. I say, listen, Christian folks understand the cause and effect relationship between everything but environment. And I never understood that, okay? Reap what you sow. All of these dynamics in the Bible are connected to cause and effect relationships. Then all of a sudden, when it comes to environment, only 22% of Republicans believe that there's a cause and effect relationship between what man does and how the environment responds. Only 22%. That's compared to over 80% of Democrats who are very clear that what we do impacts the environment around us. So let me ask you, because you're on the other side, you're in a different data set. Why has it been so difficult for Republicans to be able to look at the actual science and say, yes, what men and women do to pollute the environment impacts the environment? Why is that a difficult connection?
Sure. Well, Dr. Ritchie, last time we were speaking, I believe you said it was at 6%. So I'm glad to hear that number is going up. When I'm having conversations, came out in 2021,
the last one was in 2020. So yeah, it is increasing, and I think
absolutely that number is certainly going up every day. And I think that in my work with the organization I work with, we talk about what conservative solutions to climate change look like. And when I'm talking to Republicans across the country, they're very enthusiastic about that. But I think even more importantly, what's beyond that sentiment, and where do we need to get? We need to be talking about solutions, right? It's not enough just to believe that climate change is happening. We need to figure out what are the best avenues in terms of policy that are actually going to yield the outcomes that we want. And the fact is that 90%, and this is according to a Pew Research Center poll that they conducted last year, 90% of Americans support planting more trees to sequester carbon dioxide. 84% support investing in carbon capture and utilization. 79% support investing in more alternative sources of energy. And so if I'm doing my numbers right, that includes a whole lot of Republicans too.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
So I think that's a pretty encouraging sign.
You're right, brother. It does include a whole lot of Republicans. But let me give you some other data points. 83% of Americans are in favor for tax breaks for utilities. 62% are in favor of taxing companies for their greenhouse gas emissions. So once again, this is the majority sentiment of the nation. But when you break that data out and look at conservative versus everyone else, Republicans are once again in the minority. They do not represent the majority of the respondents as it relates to that sentiment. And let me go back to Republican leadership. And the only reason why I'm bringing this to your attention is because I want to see you all move in this direction. But what I don't want to see is some massive compromise and some hand in glove scenario where really corporations are dictating what environmental justice should look like, rather than those who actually really give a damn about environmental justice and not just a bottom line. Corporations care about the bottom line. So let's go to Republican leadership. Pollution concentrations tend to be 10% higher under Republican governors in the United States of America. That's based on actual codified data, okay? 37% higher under Republican presidents and Republicans in charge of the Congress. That's based on what's called the average pollution concentration count. That's a data set that was calculated 2 years ago. And it was massive because it went all the way back to the late 90s. So the question is, brother, I get what you're saying, man. I understand what you're selling, all right? And I'm buying some of it, but I can't buy all of it. And the reason is because you continue to say that you have to have a free market for this to work, which says unregulated. I just don't see the connection given the historical dynamics that we see clearly in front of us, given the leadership dynamic of how Republicans actually oversee the largest increase in these harmful emissions, and the fact that corporations have not engaged in the innovation that you're talking about, even when they are in a country that is basically deregulated as it relates to environmental safety. So what you're saying they're not doing, are we saying that magically they're going to start doing it if the red tape or the regulation starts to lessen for these corporations?
You know, I think if you asked any business owner or someone who's trying to start a business right now, if we live in a deregulated economy, I think that they would probably disagree with you. But again, that's not what I'm arguing for here. I'm not saying that we need to strip away all regulation. I'm saying we should look at places, look at areas where it's actually inhibiting us from getting to the goals that we want. I'll give you a specific example. We're in the middle of infrastructure negotiations right now, and you and I could probably have a longer argument about what that price tag should be and where that money should go. But I want to point to something specific in this infrastructure conversation to illustrate what I'm trying to say about red tape. There's this thing called the National Environmental Policy Act that was created to protect the environment. I think that that's a good thing. Essentially, what it means is that for large federal projects, there's a process of reviewing the environmental impact of those projects. The fact is that it takes on average to go through a NEPA review 4.5 years, and it costs well over $4 million. And so, bringing this into current day events and what we're facing right now is we're talking about how we can invest in infrastructure in order to address climate change. Having that sort of red tape, and I'm not saying strip all of it away, I'm saying how can we make that more efficient? Because I think climate change is too serious for these projects to be caught up and delayed for years, and for millions of dollars to be going to lawyers rather than the infrastructure projects that we actually need. So that's a specific example. And I think broadly when it comes to Republicans, look, you had the highest ranking Republican in the House of Representatives come out with a climate platform this year. The sentiment has shifted. We're proposing our own solutions and having that debate, and you don't necessarily have to buy all the things that I'm selling. But I think that we're at a different place than where we were even a year ago, and that's being driven by young conservatives who think that we can balance economic and environmental goods, and that we need to address climate change in a smart way. So I see that trend line going in the right direction.
Yeah, I see it going in the right direction. I would not credit young conservatives for all of it. I think activists in general who are environmental activists definitely bring awareness to the topic.
And I count myself among them. I count myself as an environmental activist.
Yeah, and I count you as one as well. I never said that we live in a deregulated economy. I'm referring to foreign nations that are de facto deregulated environments, and these corporations are able to produce, to manufacture, but they have not created the innovation that you're talking about because they are still in the business of creating profit, not creating environmental safety for everybody, but profit. Now, regulation does, based on the data, decrease the harmful emissions that we're talking about. You can't get around that. But I do think that there's room here, brother. I really do. At some point, it has to tilt though, right? Because you can highlight the few members of Congress in the Republican Party who are giving light to this. You can highlight what you're doing in the Republican Party. You don't represent the majority, brother. You don't represent the majority of your party. You represent a minority. Even the leaders who put this on their platform as a hardcore dynamic that they want to push, remember, the vast majority of those that vote for them do not believe in man-made climate dynamics, meaning men, women cannot impact the environment. Don't you think that's partly because of the massive misinformation that Republicans and conservative pundits have pushed in the anti-science realm as it relates to the environment? It has now become, it's come home to roost, so to speak.
Well, I would actually push back on that a bit. The second largest caucus in the House of Representatives, so essentially an interest group where members of Congress come together and discuss a particular issue, is the Conservative Climate Caucus. It has well over 60 members. And if you look at the polling, or actually if you go out and you ask a conservative, the folks that I'm friends with and work with, if they think that humans have an impact on the environment, they'll say yes. Confidently so, and many of them who live in rural communities and their income and their livelihoods depend on the health of the environment around them are very much interested in protecting the environment. And in Congress, we've been working on tons of different pieces of legislation that have in fact been led by Republicans.
Yeah.
And so I think you're talking about something that may have been the case several years ago, but that's just simply not the reality.
No, sir, that's not true. This data comes from, 2021, not several years ago. Only 22% of current Republicans believe that man-made environmental issues are real. They believe in environmental issues. They just think it comes from volcanoes and the natural flow of the planet, right? So they believe in that. They just don't believe that man can contribute to it or can stop it one way or the other. That is adversarial to the message that you're preaching. And don't you think the reason why only 22% of Republicans believe in what you're doing or what you're saying is because you all had massive misinformation at some point, right?
Dr. Ritchie, we can sit here and argue about poll numbers all day long, but frankly, I take climate change too seriously to be focusing on that. And I think that it's really important that we're holding members of Congress, Republicans and Democrats, to account and making sure that they're voting the right way on bills that will result in lower greenhouse gas emissions.
Yeah.
Continuing to encourage the companies that many of them have set ambitious climate goals and are developing innovative technologies to lower greenhouse gas emissions. Continue to encourage that. And so, we can sit here and argue about this all day long and name and shame Republicans, or we can get to work. And that's what I'm focused on. I think that frankly, it's too important of an issue.
Let me tell you what you need to get to working on, because once again, cause and effect, right? We're talking about politics. If the vast majority of your party, if they don't believe in the product you're selling, that's why this poll is important. This poll is connected to a person. That person voted in a respondent survey. This is not just a poll, these are people that actually responded across the United States of America inside of your political party. If you cannot get at least sentiment from the voters in the Republican Party, you all would never have the political cover in order to execute the kind of environmental strategy you're talking about. So those numbers are just as important as the 60 people in that caucus, because part of the game of politics is influence and persuasion. And if you're unable to influence your political core, your party, as to what is right, what is proper, and what is appropriate, you would never have the political backing to do it. And look at who you got in the Congress, brother. They're never going to go contrary to the political sentiment of their voters. So you have to educate them as to what's really happening around the world as it relates to environment.
Sure, I think you make a great point. And I think that the reason that you actually had more Republicans voting for the Growing Climate Solutions Act this summer, 92-8 vote, you had more Republicans than Democrats voting yes on it, is because they understand that their constituents want farmers to be adopting more sustainable practices that'll help fight climate change. That's why it passed 92-8, and that's why you had more Republicans voting for it than Democrats. Their constituents want serious solutions that'll actually yield economic and environmental benefits. That's the same reason that Republicans were at the table and played a crucial role in passing the Energy Act of 2020, which invested in carbon capture and nuclear and battery storage and all these other technologies which are lowering greenhouse gas emissions. And again, back to the polling I referenced earlier, vast majorities of Americans want those things. Republicans are delivering on that, and that's encouraging to me. I think that we need progress.
Man, the bills that you're talking about are bipartisan.
Absolutely
bipartisan.
Absolutely,
you can't say that Republicans are the ones delivering. But listen, man, I'm running out of time. But I appreciate you being on the show. Thank you for always coming on the bullpen.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, remember, take care of yourself. Take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.